One Piece: The Legend of Creation, Chapter 221-240. 221 Go to the Water Capital. The Legend of the Creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. Mary, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Lu Chengkong looked at the confused little girl who didn't understand anything at the time, and now she has almost grown into a mature beauty and couldn't help but sigh in her heart how time flies. Years passed quietly, and I grew up. Well, it's been almost 5 years. Mary is Margaret's nickname. Only the closest people know her nickname, and she will let those close people call her that. Although mature, no longer in the past, the little confused who didn't know anything, but when facing Lu Chengkong, he was still very shy. Instead, he was like a little girl who was full of spring love. Is it the familiar Margaret? At the same time, he once again sighed at Lu Chengkong's charm. As for the eagle eye lying on the boat, he shook his head and sighed at the same time. People are more popular than people. It's okay to have so many women, and each of them is powerful, and they are gorgeous and beautiful. What was speechless was that each of these women, who were like the arrogant women of the sky, not only all of them were obedient to Lu Chengkong, but they were even more close to each other as sisters, which made Hawkeye very puzzled and admired. Now that you know that being an empress has the courage to hold up a country, it's hard work. I think you must miss the much more ordinary days back then. Lu Chengkong and Margaret chatted without saying a word. The two were like old friends for many years, and as for Robin and Kuina, they had long been pulled aside by Juliana to ask this question and that to warm up. Yes, I used to yearn to fight outside the world like Lord Snakey, but now I find that the ordinary days of the past make me nostalgic, but these are over. I am now the Queen of Nine Snake Island. I know that I what to do. Margaret's delicate little face flashed a hint of strength and determination, which made Lu Chengkong sigh in his heart. Margaret has really grown up and is getting closer and closer to an excellent queen. Lord Chengkong, where are we going now? Shirahoshi wiggled his fishtail full of temptation and held the like basketball-like jade girl peak to Lu Chengkong. His voice was like moving music that made people listen to the whole person. Like bathing in the ocean, she and Hancock are both the same beauty, the same full body, and the largest prehistoric mountain, but her and Hancock's beauty is not the same kind, but two different route. Of course, I'm going to see if our new boat is ready. Before Hawkeye joined me, I asked the people from the Water City to build another functional boat. I think it was almost completed when we went to the Water City. Now, Lu Chengkong replied, but what he didn't say yet was that his trip to the water capital this time was to trigger the P campaign in addition to taking the boat, starting with the behind-the-scenes operation from the Penny's Lobby campaign at the beginning to the Buster Call, and then through this Buster Call, Nicole Robin was completely eliminated from the psychological shadow, and at the same time, all members of P were able to see the true face of the world government, and then P was taken away. You must know that all the members of the P at this time are not comparable to the strength of the P in the original work, not to mention that the current P is learning hockey, and it has been practiced for 5 years, and this is far from it. Beyond the strength of the original P, after all, the higher you stand, the farther you see, and the more knowledge you have, the more you will improve, the more motivated you will be in your practice, and the faster your progress will be. The P campaign is really interesting, because many of the enemies that were supposed to be defeated by Luffy in the original book of my intervention were either killed by me or used for my own use. Now there is no Robin, but I can still let you all go to Ennie's Lobby started a fierce battle, but without facing so many enemies. You are facing AP that is countless times stronger than the original, and you still know hockey, I don't know if you can survive. I'm really looking forward to it. Oh, Shirahoshi's face was a little strange after as if he wanted to say something, but he didn't say it because he seemed to be worried. If you have anything you want to know, just say it. Don't worry, the people on this ship are all from a pirate group. Everyone is a family, so there is no need to have so many scruples. Shirahoshi's obvious expression he would be able to hide from Lu Chengkong's gaze. Yes, I know. I want to ask why you can use that freckled face ability when you were in Alabasta. People are curious. My mother said that there is no such thing as the same fruit ability in the world. Shirahoshi said with a face. He looked puzzled and looked at Lu Chengkong, who was very cute, like a well-behaved child who waited for an answer after asking a question. Freckle face. You mean Ace, right? Lu Chengkong was sweating. Although Ace has freckles, it looks more stylish, but when it fell into Shirahoshi's mouth, it was so straightforward. When there is nothing, Shirahoshi and Angelina are two little elves, sometimes naughty, sometimes quiet. But sometimes they say something that makes people laugh or cry, but they are all beloved happy stars on the boat, and they are on the long sea voyage, but thanks to the two of them, the journey is not so boring, even if it is an eagle. This kind of unsmiling person couldn't help laughing when he heard Shirahoshi and Angelina's words sometimes and Xiaoju Dongguan on the boat. So his name is Adi. Why did his father and mother give him such a name, and it was called Adi when he was born? Does he like death very much? Hearing this, he covered his mouth and chuckled lightly, and even Hawkeye was a little dumbfounded when he heard Shirahoshi say that, the son of One Piece King of Pirates, looking very weird. It's not love, it's Ace, Fire Fist Ace, forget it, don't bother with this issue. Lu Chengkong knew that Shirahoshi's personality was very sensitive, so if he was too careful at some point, he would let her love. The crying mermaid sobbed. Although the crying Shirahoshi was equally beautiful and charming, it would be bad to make her cry innocently. This is an ability of my devil fruit. It is indeed impossible for two identical devil fruits to exist in the world, but some devil fruits with special abilities fall into the hands of some people with extraordinary talents and excellent understanding. I am the representative of these people. Quote. Lu Chengkong didn't forget to put gold on his face when he was explaining, but the innocent and lovely Shirahoshi felt nothing but nodded his head as if he was saying what Lu Chengkong said was right. 222 Vivi's dedication. The legend of the creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. In the hands of people like me, it is possible to comprehend some super abilities based on the characteristics of this relatively special devil fruit in minutes. For example, my devil fruit is a mirror fruit, which can only be created at the beginning and cannot be moved. Mirroring is simply tasteless. AGHUG. Lu Chengkong explained to Shirahoshi while enjoying Nojiko and Nami's jade hand massage, completely ignoring Belmere, who was about to explode at any moment. However, with the development of the fruit's ability, the mirror becomes more and more flexible. From the beginning, it can't move to free action, and then it has the combat power of the main body, but this is only a preliminary development. As an ability person, you must not be limited by the strength or weakness of ability, but learn to tap the advantages of a fruit ability. But I was thinking that since I can copy other people's mirror avatars and have their fruit ability, then why do I, the clone, cannot have the fruit ability of others? So with my continuous development and research, I finally realized the ability of mirror image conversion, and I can transfer the fruit ability of the ability person killed by my mirror image clone into my mirror image clone. Remember that a little fruit ability person can never be satisfied with the status quo. To continuously supplement the lack of fruit ability, it must not be stagnant. In the end, I thought that since these are the mirror clones I summoned, they should be able to merge with my body, the source of mirror images. After all, I am the source of mirror clones, so it should be possible, so there is just now. Capability fusion. Lu Chengkong's remarks gave some capable people present a different kind of understanding. Even those who were not capable people like Hawkeye and Juliana had a refreshing feeling. Although Lu Chengkong said it was very simple just now, there are many people who are capable, and they all know very well that Lu Chengkong, although it sounds simple, in fact, he has gone through countless experiments, training, and research. Today's achievements, after all, behind the glory is the sweat that silently pays. In the evening, Lu Chengkong was surprised to find that none of Khalifa and the other women who were supposed to be there at this time were actually there. Instead, there were several shy Kaya, Vivi, and yes Vivi, Alabasta. The kingdom's Vivi. Before leaving Alabasta, Lu Chengkong will find the king. After a conversation that no one knows about, both of them walked out satisfied. Afterwards, as the kingdom's princess Vivi, there was no reluctance, but a little joy. following Lu Chengkong on the xiaoyao. Seeing that the two of them were standing in front of their big bed in the dead of night, but Khalifa, Hancock and the other girls were nowhere to be seen. Obviously, this was the arrangement they had negotiated at noon today, no wonder it was so mysterious. "Why are there only two of you?" Lu Chengkong's words immediately greeted the two girls with big eyes, and even the original coy anticipation and fear were gone. Obviously, Lu Chengkong's words were deeply stimulated by the two girls, so that they forgot to be shy, and even Kaya, who had always been gentle and pleasant, was like an angry kitten, showing her teeth and claws at Lu Chengkong. "Isn't it enough to have the two of us? You big radish, it's too hateful." Vivi and Kaya both threw themselves into Lu Chengkong's arms and immediately sent pear blossom-like small pink fist attacks, but these strengths maybe even mosquitoes can't kill them. Why Vivi has such a good relationship with Lu Chengkong is very simple, because Lu Chengkong has secretly communicated with Alabasta long ago, and even told Vivi about Crocodile, but she didn't believe it at first, but after arriving she had to believe it, so she had no choice but to turn to Lu Chengkong. So Lu Chengkong led the Straw Hat Pirates to Alabasta through the hands of Vivi, and then started the original work under Lu Chengkong's threading. The first Shichibukai challenge in the battle. Later, when Lu Chengkong took Kuina and Margaret's 4 daughters, of course, he helped Vivi to take care of some people with ulterior motives in the rebel army, and also ended the battle. As a king, and Vivi, who is a princess, of course understands that Lu Chengkong wants to get in on Alabasta and make Alabasta a kingdom under the Happy Pirates, but Lu Chengkong's condition is that neither of them can refuse. So in the end, both parties reached an agreement that Alabasta would secretly provide all the materials for the Happy Pirates, but the Happy Pirates wanted to protect Alabasta, and there must be no crocodile incident, because when Alabasta faced Lu Chengkong, it was really there is no available weight, and no bargaining qualifications, so for the sake of the royal family, the king can only sacrifice his only daughter and let Vivi marry Lu Chengkong. In this way, Alabasta's power and regime will not fall into the hands of outsiders anyway, but let Alabasta climb Lu Chengkong's boat completely, without all the worries, and Vivi can find a match, even to their royal family. It is said that it is already a high-profile object, so why not do it? The most important thing is that Vivi was very interested in Lu Chengkong, who is so young and famous in the whole Great Waterway. He is handsome but has a mature and masculine face. He is tall and straight like a pillar. The divided body, as well as the domineering yet gentle, evil and charming yet gentle temperament, are extremely lethal to Vivi. In addition, Lu Chengkong had so many stunning beauties around him, but they were all in peace with each other. Instead, they lived together as close as sisters in a boudoir. They are all full of tenderness and sweetness, without a trace of falsehood. Obviously Lu Chengkong is absolutely very good to them, a strong, handsome, mysterious temperament, and good to his own woman. The most important thing is to attract a man who can make her do it early in the morning. Well, Vivi's heart beats for the royal family and sacrifices himself at any time. From the day she became conscious, she was ready to sacrifice everything for the royal family in the future, including marriage happiness, but now she encounters a person who makes her heart flutter, and she is very satisfied in every aspect, even in front of her. A man who always feels like an ugly duckling to him, how could she not seize this opportunity? After all, opportunities are fleeting, and if you can't grasp it well, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Hence the present scene. After Khalifa and Hancock and other women's discussions, she and Kaya were finally decided to come here. 223 Vivi first, then Kaya. The legend of the creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. Originally, there were Nami and others, but when I thought that Lu Chengkong and their daughters were rarely together, their relationship was inevitably a bit different than Kaya and the others. It was a long time coming to Japan, and those who had this opportunity, of course, had to pursue the most perfect relationship and the first time. As for Kaya, it has already been prepared. AGS huge. Robin and Kuina were forcibly pulled aside by Juliana. In her words, the two of them are their own daughters. Of course, they must accompany her mother first, and Margaret and Kikyo are even more so. Needless to say, they didn't have any feelings for each other, some were just friendships established through Hancock, while Margaret worshipped Lu Chengkong more. As for Nami and Nojiko, needless to say, when they were young, they just parted in a hurry, and they didn't have a little time to be together. It can be said that they didn't know each other at all. They were very loyal to their feelings and loved their bodies. The two girls Nami didn't want to give themselves to Lu Chengkong so easily. After all, in the hearts of the two girls, they were more grateful and curious about Lu Chengkong, but they were not far from the fall. So in the end, after a series of screenings, only Kaya and Vivi could be shortlisted. One is that they have a sufficient emotional foundation, plus Your Love and I Will, and Vivi is worried about night-long dreams. When someone she likes is with her, Lu Chengkong is a man who makes her feel good and is moved. Of course, she must seize this opportunity well, and even if she cannot possess Lu Chengkong, she must leave an eternal imprint in his heart. As a princess of the royal family, she is still a very resolute and decisive person. Once she thinks of a decision, she will immediately take action and will never waste any time. In her opinion, the opportunity is in front of her, but if she seizes the opportunity, she will feel very uncomfortable even knowing that this opportunity will not float away, so she chooses to fight for it immediately. Soon after Lu Chengkong stripped the two women's clothes, there was a slightly immature scream in the captain's room, and he knew it was a relatively delicate Kaya. After the soothing she chant of the sizzle appeared, it was followed by Vivi's painful whimper with a little satisfaction, and it didn't take long for the beautiful notes to slip out of Vivi's small mouth. It came out and Lu Chengkong's heavy breathing formed a wonderful original music. The next morning, Lu Chengkong stood up early from the embrace of the two girls, Vivi and Kaya, covered Kaya and Vivi with the quilt, took a bath and changed into clean clothes. A light kiss on the smooth forehead crept out of the captain's room. After all, last night, it was the first time for two delicate women to deal with Lu Chengkong's huge offensive. In the face of Lu Chengkong's formidable fighting power, even Kaya, a woman who was usually docile like a kitten, would not be able to deal with it. She was ruthlessly enduring Lu Chengkong's attack, and there was a strong momentum that she would not stop if Lu Chengkong was not released. So the two girls went through hi-ha many times in order to let Lu Chengkong leak out yesterday, and they fainted abruptly. They were exhausted physically and mentally, and they definitely won't be able to wake up tonight. Yesterday, you were really cruel. You are not afraid of leaving a psychological shadow on Nami and several women. You fought so late yesterday. It was obvious that the oldest should be the most mature and stable, but Juliana was not like that. Afterwards, Chengkong said with a smile but not a smile, that funny appearance made Lu Chengkong, who couldn't be satisfied at all yesterday, immediately turned her over and hugged her on his lap, and slapped her with his right hand on her upturned cock. Ah, you slaying thousands of knives, you are actually in front of the big old lady's ass, you bastard. You are still fighting, stop it. Stop it. Although Juliana was bold, she said anything dare to say it, but being spanked by Lu Chengkong in front of so many sisters still made her extremely shy, and her pretty face blushed. See if you dare to challenge your husband's majesty. After a series of beatings, Lu Chengkong felt the amazing elasticity and smoothness of his cock, and his mood became more comfortable. Don't dare. Juliana shook her head repeatedly and assured, touched her, and felt the burning pain from above and a strange sense of pleasure, which made her eyes can't help showing a hint of spring love. Lu Chengkong saw that his index finger moved so much that he almost couldn't help but want to straighten her on the spot, but in the end, he restrained himself with a strong will. Chengkong, are there really 5 mysterious and terrifying islands in the Great Waterway? The newly added Nami ran over immediately after Lu Chengkong beat Gulena with some navigator's equipment in her hand. Obviously, she planned to speaking of nautical maps. Yeah, go and ask Angelina, she is the queen of Remnant Blood Island, and I can't compare her knowledge of Remnant Blood Island. Lu Chengkong nodded, but he didn't say anything and threw the question to Angelina, but what he said was the truth. Nami immediately ran to Angelina when she heard the words. Obviously she was also from Juliana and the others yesterday. When I heard this, I also asked Lackey and the others about their New World deeds. I listened to them as if they were stories. Of course, I still wrote down everything that was useful. Hancock, Khalifa, Dana, Salas, the four of you are the most mature on our ship, and you have the most meetings. What do you think of what I proposed before? By the way, I'll go tell Hawkeye first, and you can discuss it. Take a look and see what needs to be added and improved. Quote. After Lu Chengkong finished speaking, he turned over and jumped down, and came to the coffin ship that followed Hawkeye next to the Happy, and told Hawkeye about his big event and some things and ideas and plans of Annie's lobby's Buster Call without any reservations. This is him. One of the reasons why it is the easiest to conquer others when dealing with people the I just joined just as well. As for Hancock, Khalifa, Dana, and Salas, the four of them are indeed the most mature in the Happy Pirates, the most reassuring to Lu Chengkong, and the one who can help Lu Chengkong handle everything, so Lu Chengkong encounters something that is difficult to solve. We'll discuss with them. 224 Helper. The Legend of the Creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. After all, the four of them are all experienced. Hancock is the queen, and she is experienced and old-fashioned. For people other than Lu Chengkong, she can do whatever she can, being ruthless and ruthless. It can be said that in the way of dealing with the enemy, it can be compared with China. Comparable to the famous female emperor Wu Zetian in history. As for Portgas Dana, needless to say, although she is not the queen, she has been a person for so many years. She has traveled all over the Great Waterway and many places in the New World by herself, and has stayed in the world government. The experience and knowledge are not what Nami and others can do. By comparison, as for her apprentice Salas, who was originally a princess, if it wasn't for her low strength before, the Revolutionary Army would not be able to calculate their country. But the demise of the country, she almost became a slave. Not only did she not fall, but stimulated her heart to become stronger and made her more mature. When studying in the hands of Portgas Dana, she was even more assiduous and diligent. Many things have their own unique way of dealing with them. In the end, let alone Khalifa, this guy has stayed with Lu Chengkong all the time since he was a child, and has never been separated, not even for a minute. He is simply a roundworm in Lu Chengkong's stomach. He knew more about himself than Lu Chengkong. Moreover, she is very calm. She is absolutely rational and calm when dealing with affairs, just like a computer that has no emotions and only knows how to do calculations. Large and small matters are solved by herself, and they have never brought any pressure to Lu Chengkong. It won't bother him, it's just Lu Chengkong's arm. In private, those wives of Lu Chengkong call Khalifa and Hancock Lu Chengkong's left arm. It is precisely because of this that Lu Chengkong has no reservations. When encountering major issues that he cannot solve or is difficult to solve by himself, he always asks them to discuss major matters. He does not underestimate them because they are women, nor does he think too much of himself. Gao thought that he could do anything, and it was Lu Chengkong's that convinced both Portgas, Dana and Salas. Compared with them, Lackey and other women are not bad, but they are all specialized in one thing, not as comprehensive as them, involving all aspects, and compared to the four of them, Lackey, Nami, Kanis and other women are relatively tender a lot of. I didn't expect you to be such a qualified captain. You take good care of the women in the boat and understand their hearts so well. It seems that I really want to admire you. Hawkeye heard that Lu Chengkong had calculated so much for Robin. The way he looked at Lu Chengkong also changed a lot. Obviously, he didn't expect Lu Chengkong, the captain, to be careful enough to take care of everyone, and to make so many movements for a crew member, just to remove the shadow of her soul. Lu Chengkong's words made Hawkeye even more agree with his decision to join the Free and Easy Pirates. He had no regrets, and only such a pirate group was worthy of him joining. It's not as good as you said. Compared to the rest of us, Robin had a really hard life as a child. Lu Chengkong couldn't help but feel sorry for her when he thought of the original book's detailed introduction to Robin's life as a child. Incomparably, such a young girl has to suffer so much inhuman suffering, the taste of which is beyond the imagination of outsiders. But if you do this, you are officially challenging the Marine headquarters. No, it is the world government. Now you should be very clear that getting the attention of the Marine headquarters and the world government's attention are two different natures. Even the Whitebeard pirates at their peak. The regiment was almost annihilated against one of the Gorosei, 5 elders, and Whitebeard was seriously injured for years without healing. Hawkeye Mahawk said that when he looked at Lu Chengkong, he was full of solemnity. In the eyes of ordinary people, there is no difference between offending the world government and offending the Marine headquarters, but Hawkeye is not like this after learning about the Gorosei, 5 elders from the Red Hair. It is believed that Marine is only the most powerful of the many forces in the world government, but it definitely does not mean that the world government only has such a power as Marine. Are you afraid? Lu Chengkong did not directly answer Mahawk's question, but instead asked rhetorically. Am I afraid? Hawkeye's expression did not change, his eyes flashed, and after a moment of silence, he suddenly laughed like a lunatic. I'm really timid. Am I timid after hearing about the strength of the Gorosei, 5 elders? No, I'm a swordsman, I won't be timid, since I'm a member of the Easy Pirates, even if I die, not timid, not to back down. Quote. Hawkeye suddenly pulled out his black knife when he said this, as if to show that his decision would not change even if the world collapsed. The aura that only swordsmen had on his body instantly rose to the extreme, under the sea. The Sea Kings felt the sharp and terrifying momentum of the Eagle Eye and fled in fright. Very well, since Robin is a member of our pirate group, then I will be responsible for her. You Hawkeye is also a member of my Easy Pirates group. I am also responsible for you. I will not take the crew bet with your life. Remember what I said the day you joined the Easy Pirates. Lu Chengkong stared at Hawkeye's eyes, facing Hawkeye's sharp and terrifying eyes without a trace of evasion, and said word by word, my captain is not dead, you will not fall. My Eagle Eye is the sharp knife of the Xiaoyao pirates. Eagle Eye also said every word, with a very serious tone without a trace of jokes. Obviously he told Lu Chengkong, as long as your words remain the same, his eagle eyes also remain the same. As long as there is a battle, then as a sharp knife, he will definitely rush to the front for the first time. It seems that the Eagle Eye has admitted the captain of the sky from the bottom of his heart. Khalifa's eyes under the gold wire glasses flashed, and it was kept behind his back, and the golden light wrapped around his right hand disappeared quietly. Obviously, if Hawkeye's answer just didn't satisfy her, for example, Hawkeye was afraid, then Khalifa would definitely be the first to take action. She was not the only one who did the same thing. In fact, before Hawkeye answered, Hancock, Canis, Lackey, Gulena and even Dana and Salas are all secretly ready to strike deadly at any time. After all, in their opinion, if Hawkeye didn't admit from the bottom of his heart that Captain Lu Chengkong was unable to face the powerful enemy for the sake of his companions, if he was timid, afraid, or even refused to participate in this plan, then they would never admit that Hawkeye was the Free Pirates. But Hawkeye's answer just now was obviously recognized by all the women, and he completely recognized that Hawkeye is an eternal member of the Happy Pirates, just like Enel. 225 Goodbye CP9. The Legend of the Creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. At this time, the dock of the water capital number 1 was crowded with people, and even Iceberg, the mayor of the 7 Water Islands and the president of the Carrera Company, was standing here. Ag shug. Frankie, this time is no joke. I hope you don't mess around. This ship belongs to the Easy Pirates, which is as famous as Whitebeard. If something happens, it's not you. And the entire Water City. Iceberg said earnestly, looking at Frankie who looked like a bad boy. Che, I don't care who he is. If he can't get my approval, I will never give this ship to him. Frankie did not give any concessions, although the raw materials and all costs of the ship was paid by the Happy Pirates, but as a shipbuilder, he could not give in. If the other party was just someone who simply pursued fame and fortune and could not be recognized by him, he would not hand over the ship even if he died. Iceberg's face changed when he heard the words, but in the end it could only be turned into a wry smile. As a shipbuilder, why didn't he think like through Frankie? But he is not alone now, there are people from the entire water capital behind him. He is not the only one who has offended the happy pirates so badly. Actually, it's superfluous to say so much now. Frankie, are you so sure that the easy pirates don't deserve this ship? Iceberg, you are so worried that the easy pirates will be dissatisfied with Frankie's performance. Water City, if they really only have so much air, do you think they can become a pirate group on par with Whitebeard at such a young age? Just when the atmosphere was dignified and very depressed, Kaku with a long nose stood up, but his words illuminated the darkness in Iceberg and Frankie's hearts like a beacon in the dark night, making the two of them unable to bear it. Zhu thought to himself, Kaku's words are right, it's useless to think so much to add to your troubles. If Lu Chengkong was really that bad, he wouldn't be able to get to where he is today at such a young age. The acknowledgement of so many powerful companions. Quote. Clap clap. Suddenly, a crisp applause suddenly sounded. Such a sudden applause surprised everyone present, even P.S. Lucci and others, because they didn't perceive anyone's existence in their perception. How could anyone be there? I don't even know the applause in my own perception. Such abrupt applause attracted the attention of everyone present, only to see that more than a dozen people had appeared at the gate of number 1 dock. Only 2 were men, the others were basically beautiful women, and they were still as beautiful as they were. The fairies have fallen into the mortal world, but the men present did not dare to be presumptuous. After seeing clearly who came, no matter how beautiful these women were, they would bite their tongues to prevent themselves from seeing them, and some couldn't help it. Even lowered his head. Sacrificing themselves to look at beautiful women, they are not that great, and they are ordinary people, and their minds are not as firm as the strong, but they can't control themselves and don't have to look at Hancock and others with full of ****** eyes, so for their own sake, for the sake of Xiaoming, they all closed their eyes or bowed their heads. Is it finally here? Kaku sighed inwardly after seeing the person coming. Although Lu Chengkong and Khalifa have undergone great changes after many years, both in appearance and temperament, Kaku still recognized him at first sight. Who came out? It's still the same as before. The two of them walked far ahead of me, and every time I thought I had surpassed them, I found that I was still a frog at the bottom of a well, still far above my head. If Iceberg had looked carefully at this time, he would have seen flaws in Kaku, Lucci and others, because their eyes were too complicated at this time. It's a pity that Iceberg was also attracted by the visitors at this time, and he didn't have the heart to pay attention to the changes of Lucci and Kaku, so he missed the only chance to see the flaws of Kaku and Lucci. Very well, if you just hand over this ship to me at will, I'm a little worried, because that's not the quality a master shipbuilder should have. Lu Chengkong walked slowly to Iceberg and Frankie, looking at the very funny Frankie in the original book, but now it's not an anime but a live-action version, but it looks more like a high school. The upper body is so big, the lower body itself so small, and still wearing only underwear. It is too spoof. Lu Chengkong never once wondered if the author of One Piece, King of Pirates, was a little perverted, or if he had suffered any emotional trauma. There are so many beautiful women in One Piece, King of Pirates, but what about men? More than 70% of men look very weird and funny. Then I don't know how this shipbuilder is willing to hand over the ship to me, and how can I get your approval? Lu Chengkong looked at Frankie. His tone was surprisingly flat, and he didn't care what Frankie said before. And angry. Tell me what your goal is. What do you take your ship to be? Frankie was also very nervous when facing Lu Chengkong. Although Lu Chengkong had restrained his aura, the shadow of the famous tree, standing in front of him is one of the 2 strongest men in the world, and no matter how much Lu Chengkong restrains himself, his violent, domineering, and evil aura still surrounds him. Innate. But he was Tom's apprentice after all, and he wasn't even afraid of death. What was there to be afraid of? After the initial nervousness, he quickly calmed down and looked at Lu Chengkong's eyes with burning eyes. It was the window to the soul, so he wanted to see if Lu Chengkong was lying. Goal. I have many goals, but the most important ones are 3. First, protect my wives and make them happy. Second, lead my crew to the highest peak, and let the world look up to the existence. And protect my crew. The last one I didn't want to say, but since you asked, I won't hide it. The third is The first two Lu Chengkong said aloud in front of everyone, but the third one came close to Frankie's ear and just said 6 words, but Frankie's face changed greatly, almost there was no shouting out of extreme shock. Because Lu Chengkong said the words, "Rule the Great Waterway," in his ear, facing Lu Chengkong's astonishing words, if Frankie's face did not change, it would make Lu Chengkong strange. 226 The Ship Spirit of the Pleasure. The legend of the creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. As for this ship, Lu Chengkong looked at the big ship in front of him, which was covered with a huge white cloth. The size of this ship was no smaller than his previous Xiaoyao, and even slightly larger than that in the original book. The Sunshine Mile of the Straw Hat Pirates was at least twice as large as nearly 3 times as large. GSHUG. I think you have more weight than what I said after seeing this thing. Lu Chengkong said that a person suddenly appeared beside him. It was really a mirror image clone of Lu Chengkong's main body. In seconds, mirror image Lu Chengkong reappeared in front of everyone, but it wasn't just mirror image Lu Chengkong who came back. He also raised a boat on his right hand. It is Xiaoyao number. The name I named for it is the Happy, which carries my will and carries our happy life. It also witnesses my rise from the end of my life, and has grown stronger to the point where I can compete with Whitebeard in the end. Is already an indispensable part of my happy pirates, but unfortunately, it has gone through too many battles in the New World and it is close to collapse. Quote. Lu Chengkong walked in front of Xiaoyao, and stretched out his hand to gently caress in front of it, as if he loved his own relatives. The sadness on his face was obviously not pretending, because there were obvious expressions on the faces of the girls. Sadness, especially for Hancock. This ship was designed and built by her alone, but now it is close to collapse. In short, she is going to die and leave her, and she is not feeling well. I know that the people who build ships have passed down the ship spirit from generation to generation, and I also think that the ship spirit is not false, not a legend but exists. When the ship is intimate enough with the crew to a certain extent, the ship will give birth to a ship spirit, right? Fran Odd, Iceberg. Lu Chengkong said softly. Yes. Frankie and Iceberg looked at each other and seemed to understand a little what Lu Chengkong was going to say, but they didn't understand. I think after you see it, the answer you want, what do I think of my ship? You will get the answer to this question. Lu Chengkong suddenly rose into the air, yes, not using moonstep, but also without entering the state of demon transformation, without demon wings, but directly flying into the air. This ability is the last move in the Demon Rokushiki, and it was only realized by Lu Chengkong after nearly 3 years of development. The Moon Step in Devil Rokushiki is the perfect upgraded version of Moon Step in Rokushiki. The many magical effects contained in it are not comparable to Moon Step. I think you haven't said a word to us since you were born, and you have deliberately hidden yourself. You don't want us to be sad, do you? Come out, the ship spirit of my happy ship. Lu Chengkong's words made everyone present. His face changed, including Hawkeye, although he was not a shipbuilder, and he had only joined the Happy Pirates not long ago, but he knew exactly what the ship spirit meant. What? The ship spirit was born on the happy ship. Why don't we know? Almost all the women in Khalifa, Gulena, and Nami were confused and ignorant, and obviously they didn't know what was going on. That is, a flash of memory flashed in Hancock's eyes, as if he remembered some details that he had neglected before. I didn't expect that I could hide even the most careful Hancock and Khalifa, but I didn't hide from you. Just as everyone was waiting with anticipation and curiosity, suddenly a very immature, milky childish voice was clearly introduced to everyone. Inside the ear. Why haven't you come out? Hancock came to Lu Chengkong's side, touched the ship, and said in a serious tone. Obviously she was a little angry, as if she was angry that the ship spirit was born but kept silent. Right, I'm sorry. The ship elf wanted to know that Hancock was half angry, and his tone was a little timid. Facing the childlike ship elf Hancock's face couldn't help softening a little, but a pair of phoenix eyes seemed to be staring at the happy. Hope the ship elf can give himself an explanation. Caring is messing up. The birth of the ship spirit of the happy ship can be said to be at an untimely time. When she was born, the happy ship was about to collapse. She knew that we all have deep feelings for this ship. Otherwise, she wouldn't be born, so she doesn't want us to be sad, since sooner or later we have to separate. She would rather stay silently on the side and disappear and destroy with Xiaoyao, so that everyone doesn't have to be so sad. Lu Chengkong said with a complicated expression, although the mind of this ship elf who was born not long ago is like a baby, but she is so considerate of Lu Chengkong and others, how could Lu Chengkong not be moved? Officer, how did you find out? Hancock was stunned when he heard the words. Even Khalifa, Nami, Kaya and other women around him were sluggish. Obviously, they didn't think that the ship spirit would think so soon after birth. A lot, and she even thinks so comprehensively. Obviously she was born and she should be curious about everything in the outside world, but she can only hide her existence on the side so that no one can discover her existence. Her performance makes Kaya and Nami more heartfelt. The soft girls sobbed softly. I couldn't find it originally, but the ship spirit was born not long after all. Even if he is wise, his mind is only a little better than that of a child. She ignored a little, she ignored the happy. Lu Chengkong's words are in everyone's mind. It's all understood. Yes, a ship that has reached the point of being unnavigable can still support Lu Chengkong from the harsh new world back to East Blue, and has sailed again for so long to come to the water capital. If it is another ship, even if its performance is better. It's unbearable, but Xiaoyao did it. Like Mary in the original book, it created a miracle. This ship belongs to you, and I hope you can cherish it as much as you treat the pleasure. Frankie was silent for a long time, and he choked out such a sentence. The existence of the ship spirit is the most convincing answer. If Lu Chengkong simply told him that he regarded the Xiaoyao as a partner, he would definitely not believe it, but the appearance of the ship spirit represented everything, and it was the answer that made him the most satisfied and the most unbelievable. Zongkong, is the Xiaoyao really going to be burnt down? Juliana said with an unbearable expression on her pretty face, as did Nami Lackey and other women. Hee, if Khalifa is the only one in our happy pirates, returning to the sea is the best destination for happy. Lu Chengkong's words in front of him made all the girls pale, but the words behind made them all white. Is smiling like flowers. 227 Ship Spirit Transfer. The legend of the creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. The ability of Khalifa and Dana may be able to transfer the ship spirit to the new pleasure. AGHUG. Yes, such a simple sentence brought hope to the girls. What do you mean? Even Iceberg and Frankie, who are outsiders, are a little nervous about the ship spirit. After all, things like the ship spirit that only appeared in legends are now appearing in front of them. A master shipbuilder, they certainly like that the ship sprite can survive. I don't want to be separated from everyone, but I can't do anything about it. The voice of the ship elf sounded again, but this time it was a little weak, as if it would leave at any time. Obviously he had been leading Lu Chengkong and others. Sailing has gone far beyond her limits. When I discovered the ship spirit, I kept thinking, since you are wise and can speak, it proves that you exist, and you are a type of life, but you are invisible and cannot be seen by the naked eye. But it is also a kind of life. Sedane's fruit of life may allow you to leave the joyful without dissipating into the sky and the earth, and you have helped the joyful sailing many times. Obviously your life has almost reached its limit. So what does it have to do with Khalifa's bright fruit? Nico Robin asked everyone's questions. It's very simple. If my previous assumption is successful, if the ability of Dana's fruit of life can keep the life of the ship spirit, then using the powerful sealing ability of Khalifa's fruit of light may be able to pull the ship spirit out of the pleasure. And then sealed it into the new Xiaoyao. Lu Chengkong's words made all the girls mixed. After all, Lu Chengkong was only guessing, and the possibility of failure was very high. Try it. Portga's Dana was also a bit fond of and curious about this ship spirit she had never seen before, so her right hand suddenly released a green light, and a strong life energy fell on Xiaoyao like a fairy scattered flowers. Number on the body. How is it? Lu Chengkong was also a little nervous now. After all, everything he had done before was just a guess, and whether it could be successful or not is still a question. I feel warm and comfortable all over. After a while, the ship spirit suddenly spoke again, but this time her life became more energetic than before. Obviously, Lu Chengkong's first guess was successful. Although the ship elf is invisible and cannot be seen by the naked eye, it is definitely a kind of life if it can speak and have wisdom. As long as it is life, then Dana's fruit of life must have an effect on her. The ship spirit can't survive without Xiaoyao, so Khalifa, you have to move faster. Lu Chengkong glanced at Khalifa, who had been keeping his eyes closed. I have a way to cut off the connection between the ship spirit and the pleasure, but if I conceal the ship spirit on the new pleasure without dying, I don't have much confidence. Khalifa knows the most powerful place for the fruit of light it is because after the seal, it focuses on development in this area, so it can be said that these things are within reach. Yes, after all, the ship spirit was conceived by the Xiaoyao. Now that I have left the Xiaoyao and came to a strange ship, I don't know if I can survive. Lu Chengkong is also a little distressed now. This is equivalent to a gamble. A gamble on the life of the ship sprite. Originally, I was going to return to the sea and disappear with the Xiaoyao. I have already prepared myself to leave silently. You don't need to be sad for me. Since there is a chance of success now, I should be happy, because no matter what I've earned it, whether it's a success or a failure. The ship elf's milky voice has a kind of optimism that many people don't have. The performance of facing life and death and looking down on death is very admirable for that person, at least there are not many people present. To be able to die so calmly in the face of death after knowing that he would die. Khalifa, let's do it. Lu Chengkong's expression on Vivi's face became a little dignified, but he didn't turn around. In his words, he would watch you die even if he died. Cut of light. Khalifa's jade hand pointed at the Xiaoyao, and a golden light shot out from the top of the jade finger and hit the Xiaoyao directly. Everyone's ears were reminded of the sound of a sharp blade slicing matter, which made everyone understands that the connection between the ship spirit and Xiaoyao has been cut off. Now 99% of the people are all nervous in vain. The seal of light. I saw a golden yellow sphere appeared above the Xiaoyao. You don't need to think about it to know that the ship spirit is inside. The white cloth was opened in Lu Chengkong, revealing the new ship that has been wrapped in the white cloth. After that, Lu Chengkong and the others didn't even look at the new ship, all they focused on Khalifa. Silence. Yes, Khalifa didn't speak, neither did Lu Chengkong's group. The atmosphere became a little depressed for a while. Lu Chengkong's group didn't speak, and the others didn't dare. They held their breaths and waited for Khalifa. Open your mouth. After a while, Khalifa, who had not spoken, slowly opened her attractive red mouth and spit out a sentence. The seal is successful, the ship spirit has been connected to the happy, but can the ship spirit survive? I don't know. The sentence in front of Khalifa made everyone happy at first, but the next sentence made the expressions of everyone, who had just raised their joy, go silent. I'm fine. No, but I may not be able to be with you in the next few months. This is not the ship that was born. I need time to adapt, so I'm sorry, I can't be with you beside me. The voice of the ship spirit was full of exhaustion. Obviously, she squeezed into this new ship with her own efforts and the terrible sealing power of Khalifa's bright fruit. Both are indispensable. It was a success, although the ship elf will sleep for several months, but this is already a big happy event. Ha. Okay. Frankie, Iceberg and even all the shipbuilders laughed, as if they were getting a huge benefit when the ship became smarter. This is a real ship, a ship with a soul. Frankie said nothing after dropping such a sentence, turned around and left with his group of younger brothers, and Iceberg did not stop him when he saw it. Iceberg, we'll be staying in the water capital for a short period of time, and I don't want anyone else here to know of our existence. 228 Super Era's Happy No. The Legend of the Creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. Lu Chengkong's words were not polite at all, but Iceberg didn't get angry because of it. Instead, he directly instructed the people present. Obviously, Lu Chengkong's stay in the water capital would be more beneficial to them than the disadvantages, and Lu Chengkong and the others could make pirates. The appearance of the ship has already been recognized by Iceberg and regarded them as friends. AGS huge. After all, it is most worthy of recognition for a shipbuilder to have a ship spirit appear on his ship, even if the other party is an enemy, not to mention that there is no conflict of interest and hatred between the two sides, but Lu Chengkong has brought a huge development to the capital of water. The huge amount of money in the economy. Lu Chengkong directly sent 500 million berries in addition to the raw materials with a wave of his hand when building the ship, so Iceberg can be said to welcome the easy pirates. This is the detailed function description of this ship. After Iceberg handed a notebook to Lu Chengkong, he went back to his office. After all, there are still many things to do in the capital of water. Thank you. Lu Chengkong glanced at Iceberg gratefully, and then boarded the new pirate ship with everyone to take a closer look at the ship. Of course, the one with Eagle Eye was also made of the treasure tree atom. Put it aside. Don't underestimate this is just a small boat. It was also made by Frankie and Iceberg. It has many wonderful uses. It can even dive. That's right, it is diving. It is used as a submarine, although it is only a small boat. But with the strength of the Eagle Eye, it is not a problem for him to navigate the new world of the Great Fairway. It seems that they all took a serious look at the opinions I gave, and they all joined in, and they are more complete. Hancock is like an encyclopedia. He understands everything, and he is proficient in everything. It's not as good as Iceberg and Frankie now, but it's only one level worse than them, and although the navigation skills are not as good as Nami 2 years after the big event in the original book, it's just a line. Otherwise Lu Chengkong's free and easy pirates couldn't have gotten along so well in the incomparably harsh new world. I can't believe it when I read the functional data of this ship. This is a ship that has surpassed the pace of the times, and is a pirate group that surpasses the times. When Hancock stayed together, it was like reading Tang poetry and song poetry every day. Even if he couldn't recite it, he would steal it. Let me see. The three most lively girls, Nami, Nojiko, and Kaya, immediately ran over and snatched the notebook in Lu Chengkong's hand. Bigger. It's no wonder they. In the original book, Nami was so surprised when she saw the Sunshine Miles, let alone this super-era pirate ship. Lu Chengkong understood why the three girls were so surprised. He sighed again and again. Is the Sunshine Miles advanced enough in the original book? Can it be powerful? But now compared to Lu Chengkong's ship, although it is not as exaggerated as Firewood and the Sun, at least there is a big gap between Ordinary Flames and Sanwei Junha. Think about it too, in the original work, the Straw Hat Pirates only had more than 200 million desperately. After buying the treasure tree atom and building the ship, they only left a small part for repairing the ship, and they lacked materials and a lot of money. Processing. On the contrary, in the material given by Lu Chengkong, the weight of the treasure tree atom alone is 4 times or 5 times that of the one bought by Frankie's original book. There are also various Lackey modified shells of Sky Island, and the flight system developed by Enel, which has been perfectly strengthened after Lackey's transformation, and then fell into the hands of Iceberg and Frankie with huge financial support. Both manpower and material resources are countless times more than the original Sunshine Miles. If such a condition could not build such a ship, then Lu Chengkong might really go crazy and tear down the entire water capital. It's amazing. It has enough energy to fly at high altitudes for a long time, and dive without coating. Oh my god, are those really from weapons? It's terrible. The speed of full propulsion is so fast. As a navigator, Nami, of course, needs to understand all the performance of this ship in an all-round way, so that she can give full play to her talents when sailing. With Nami, Hancock is now much more relaxed and can have more time. And free time to practice. Alright, my Miss Navigator, Miss Doctor, Princess Dancing, let's go have a meal and settle down. Let's talk. Lu Chengkong watched Nami in amazement for more than 10 minutes on the boat, but she had to be born to interrupt her exclamation. As for the dancing princess, of course, Princess Vivi is the princess. The strength on Lu Chengkong's boat can be poor, but he must not be complacent. degenerate and reluctant to make progress, so Vivi also showed his talent. As a royal princess, dancing is a compulsory course, and Vivi is a master of this, and it can be said that it is a seamless combination with the musician Canis. Canis and Dana have already gone to cook. What do you plan to name the ship in the sky? Khalifa, who is dressed in an eternal black secretary outfit full of sexy temptation, came over and said. Since the ship spirit is still there, although the body of our Xiaoyao is broken, her soul is still there. She still carries the Xiaoyao that allows us to enjoy the world as before, but since she is a new ship, then it is simple. Just call it Xin Xiaoyao directly, don't make it too complicated. Quote. Lu Chengkong thought for a moment and found that he really didn't have much talent for naming names, maybe it was because of heredity. The unknown parents in his previous life gave him a sturdy name of Lu Meng, which was obviously inherited from them. Lu Chengkong is not very talented when it comes to the name, and the new Xiaoyao is indeed the most suitable for the current ship, so Khalifa did not feel any bad after listening to it. Let's go, Khalifa, let's enjoy it first. Although this ship also has a swimming pool, but it has not officially set sail yet, and no one can know that we are here, so let's go to the villa that Iceberg arranged for us to enjoy the sun pool. Quote. Lu Chengkong couldn't help wearing a sexy and attractive three-point swimsuit, a high fork swimsuit. In his mind, he couldn't help but think that his lower body was also gone, so Khalifa, who saw this scene, pretty face blushed slightly, and she understood Lu Chengkong's thoughts in her heart. 229 Build the Enies Lobby Event. The Legend of the Creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. Of course, Lu Chengkong has to be prepared with both hands in the pool and the dewy girls in the pool. Iceberg has obviously thought of this for a long time, so there is no one around the villa, except that no one will disturb Lu Chengkong. However, after taking care of Lu Chengkong's idea, it is obvious that Iceberg is also very good at being a person, and he knows Lu Chengkong's preferences through observation. AGS huge. As for Hawkeye's residence, Iceberg was also thought of by Lu Chengkong. He sat next to Lu Chengkong's villa, close to each other. This would not embarrass Hawkeye, but also take care of Lu Chengkong's domineering heart. He also understood this very well, so he wouldn't go over to disturb Lu Chengkong when he had nothing to do. Unless there was a major event, he would release his momentum ahead of time so that Lu Chengkong would be ready before going over. Hawkeye is so good at being a man, but Lu Chengkong is very satisfied and happy. Hawkeye is also a member of the Happy Pirates, but of course his wife can only show it to himself, even if he has not yet become his wife. Moreover, Lu Chengkong also knows that Hawkeye has no interest in female sex at all. In his heart, he may not be as good as a stronger swordsman or a famous sword, and what Hawkeye pursues is only kendo, female sex, and power. For him, it was a burden or even an obstacle to his kendo path. Since he has no interest in this aspect, he is practicing every day. Obviously, facing so many strong people in the whole boat, his biggest interest is to become stronger and target the people in the boat. A transcendence is the greatest joy for him. Just like Enel, he likes the process of conquering the world and enjoys the fun of that process. I asked Kapal to give the Mary to Luffy early in the morning, but I didn't expect that they would still love the ship that Kaya gave to Usopp. It seems that the ship spirit has already been born. It's really strange. Why? Every ship spirit is born until the ship is close to its limit. Lu Chengkong looked at the information in his hand, and kept thinking about it. At the same time, he was also thinking about how to arrange to trigger the Enies Lobby incident. In Lu Chengkong's view, the Enies Lobby incident had three functions. The first was to entertain the public. Robin solves the shadow of Buster Call. The third is to let everyone in P recognize the world government, and at the same time let them join the Easy Pirates. After all, it's time to put some people in Enel's ship, but Enel is very proud. If his strength or potential can't get his approval, he will never let him in, just like Lu Chengkong won't let a man on board. Like his boat, this is a principle, an inviolable principle that everyone has, and Enel, Hawkeye abides by and will not violate or offend Lu Chengkong's principle. So reciprocating, as a captain, even the crew respects his principles so much, so of course he can't let them down, so he didn't feel anything wrong with Enel's decision, but fully supported it. Although the new world is as strong as a cloud, after 3 years of development with Lu Chengkong and others, no one has been able to move into Enel's ship, all because they can't satisfy Enel, because Enel wants more than it is only a person with strength, and there are many requirements, and P, who has been secretly helping Lu Chengkong, is far from the original book in terms of potential and strength, so Lu Chengkong intends to let P's people live in Enel's ship. He also believes that P's people will not let him down. With Khalifa and I in Lucci, it is impossible for them to fight Robin's idea, and Luffy's strength is obviously not in their eyes at this time, so in the end they should only choose Frankie, so there is no need blaming the Straw Hat for the iceberg assassination as really a headache. How can I get P and the Straw Hat to do it? Lu Chengkong also had a headache thinking about this. Khalifa on one side appeared by Lu Chengkong's side very timely, but she did not disturb Lu Chengkong. Instead, she walked behind Lu Chengkong like a virtuous wife and stretched out 2 jades. He placed his fingers on Lu Chengkong's temples on both sides and massaged Lu Chengkong very gently. Khalifa's control and understanding of the human body, which has been cultivated to a very profound and terrifying level, is far better than that of biologists, doctors, researchers, and people who have explored the human body with top-notch technology in his previous life. No, so the seemingly simple massage of the temples turned into a very advanced knowledge when it fell into Khalifa's hands. Seeing that Lu Chengkong's brows, which were originally frowning because of worry, have not only been massaged by Khalifa's jade hands. You can tell from the look of being flat and enjoying it. Chengkong, what are you worrying about? Tell me about this, sister. Khalifa's tone was very gentle, like coaxing a child. Lu Chengkong didn't hide it either, because he would never hide anything from Khalifa and Hancock. After all, they were the first 2 people Lu Chengkong knew when he came to this world when he was most helpless, and no matter when they will all belong to Lu Chengkong without reservation, so Lu Chengkong prefers the 2 of them the most. Under Lu Chengkong's explanation, Khalifa first frowned slightly, but he recovered in an instant, and his eyes flashed. This expression obviously told Lu Chengkong, and she thought of a way. It's such a sweet baby, you're AG girl outside, a Valkyrie on the battlefield, but now you're a think tank. Khalifa, you work so hard for me, you study everything, do everything, do you really think I don't know? Mary, what can a wife ask for from such a husband? Quote. Lu Chengkong sighed inwardly. Khalifa worked hard for himself. It could even be said to be even more powerful than Zhuge Kongming's dedication and death. Lu Chengkong often saw Khalifa practicing in order to help him learn more. The scene of East and West is warm in my heart, the corners of my eyes have been moistened countless times, and a man can't cry easily. It's not too difficult if you want to meet your husband and brother's requirements. First of all, the Straw Hat's ship is close to collapse. Even if a ship spirit is born and the ship spirit helps to repair it, it will not help. Iceberg and Frankie, who are shipbuilders, know this. We'll definitely try to help them after the incident, so I will definitely be very grateful to Iceberg for their Luffy character. Quote. Khalifa is worthy of being Khalifa. The words he said are clear and well structured. Without saying a word, Lu Chengkong's heart became brighter and brighter. 230 Hancock Variation. The Legend of the Creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. Then they will definitely help Iceberg or Frankie when they are in danger, and I can see that the people on their boat are all people who value friendship, and it is impossible to ignore them, so as long as we attack Iceberg in Lucci and take Frankie away. Lan Chi gave a little guidance to let the Straw Hats know about the incident and rushed to the scene in time, so wouldn't the 2 sides become enemies. Hearing this, Lu Chengkong couldn't help but turn around and hug Khalifa, the sexy and beautiful stunner dressed in alluring temptation, in his arms. Instead of struggling, he responded to Lu Chengkong very cooperatively, and at the same time twisted his water snake waist to continuously stimulate Lu Chengkong's GSHUG. As for the first time I didn't understand Fr Okushiki, powerful and exquisite straw hats and the huge gap in strength, it was a sure thing. At that time, we secretly sent a message to Lucci to let them let go of the straw hats once, so they tasted the defeat. I think it's because I have a certain understanding of Rokushiki. Whether it is to save Frankie or to be ashamed, Straw Hat will have to go to the Enies lobby to save Frankie. The battle will not start, but the second whether they can survive or not depends on their abilities. Quote. That's right, since you want to be a pirate, and you still aim at One Piece, King of Pirates, then you should be mentally prepared to die on the day you become a pirate. It can only be my Lu Chengkong's plaything, a chess piece, controlled by me, to achieve the desired goal for me. Don't blame me, just blame you for being too weak. That guy Crocodile has a good saying, there is nothing in life sin, but being weak is a sin. Quote. Lu Chengkong's eyes flashed with ruthlessness, and he didn't have any reluctance or mercy just because the Straw Hats were the protagonists of the original anime. It was not in vain that his life had required 3 years of bloody battles in the New World. What he experienced is far beyond what ordinary people can understand. It's really interesting. Lucci and the others are all hockey strong now, although they are not conquerors, but armament and observation hockey have also cultivated to the point of skillful use, and their power is amazing. Can you survive only by the ability of fruit? Even if you are the life force of the people bred by the fruit of life is amazing and can withstand the second gear, and the third gear is powerful but will shorten the lifespan of the tricks. But in the case that Lucci and the others don't underestimate the enemy, even if you underestimate the enemy, you can't win. I'm very curious about whether your Straw Hat Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates can survive. Haha, this big movie has finally begun to be created by me. It came out, I hope it will be exciting enough not to let me down. In addition to the necessary training, Lu Chengkong enjoys life every day, and fights hard with all the girls on the big bed. Of course, he also has a good experience with Hawkeye. Of course, the most of them are Kuina and Juliana. After all, the 3 of them are swordsmen, and they can gain more benefits by learning from each other. Time passed without knowing it when Lu Chengkong and the others were cultivating and enjoying. The Straw Hat Pirates who had been waiting for it really landed just like in the original book, but for some reason, the going they obtained on Sky Island was being sold. After that, it was inevitably taken away by Frankie and others, which made Lu Chengkong sigh about the inertia of the original book. The repair power is really not very strong. If he didn't interfere, the Straw Hat might really develop like the original book. I'm about to fight Buster Call head-on. Why don't you seem happy at all? Aren't you very excited to face these battles in the past? Portgas Dana walked over and looked at the lazy face lying on the beach chair. Lu Chengkong said. The height of the stand is different, and the perspective will be different. The battles that excite me now are at least at the level of the 4 emperors, and the only people who can be fanatical are the Whitebeard, Gorosei, 5 elders, and the woman of Tenryubito in its heyday. Lu Chengkong waved his hand, looking very casual, completely lacking the demeanor that a master should have. Also, I haven't seen you go all out for a long time. Time flies so fast. I didn't expect that the kid who just learned Rokushiki has now become the existence of the 4 emperors and surpassed me. It's really unexpected. Portgas Dan. If Na's words were heard by some people in Marine who knew her, they would definitely be frightened to death. Especially Garp. If Garp heard what she said at this time, she would definitely be shocked and couldn't eat the donuts. God, the Portgas Dana in 3 years is stronger than when she first entered the New World 3 years ago, not a single star. But now she actually said that she is not as good as Lu Chengkong, so how strong is Lu Chengkong now? It's not a big deal. In human efforts, a little bit of luck, plus opportunities, and the silent support of Khalifa and the others all along, it's hard to imagine a talent. Lu Chengkong smiled indifferently, facing Portgas Dana's admiration. He seemed nothing on the surface, but his heart was a little overwhelmed. After all, it was clear that Portgas Dana was his teacher. Deceptive. Compared to this, Hancock's situation makes me more worried. Suddenly, Lu Chengkong sat up and said with a dignified expression. Is it the awakening of the Emperor color? Portgas Dana was stunned for a moment, thinking of the recent changes in Hancock, except when facing Lu Chengkong, he was able to regain his original gentleness, and even when facing the girls, he was indifferent, like a noble emperor who is high above and inviolable. Seeing them all look like the emperor is looking at his courtiers, but Lu Chengkong is very worried about the situation. I don't know, after all, I don't even have a conqueror. Is it true that the awakening of the emperor's color is so eloquent, but the terrifying emperor's aura emanating from Hancock's body makes people dare not approach her at all? Didn't even have the courage to talk to her and look at her. Lu Chengkong remembered that Lackey, Nami, Robin and the others were all trembling and shaking when they faced Hancock recently. Obviously, Hancock's changes have become bigger and bigger. One thing is I don't know if I should say it or not. Portgas Dana said here with a strange look on his face, a look of hesitating to speak. This kind of expression is very rare. What's the matter? We're not outsiders anymore, let's talk about it. Lu Chengkong looked at Portgas Dana with a puzzled look, and was a little curious about what made Portgas Dana so scruples. 231 Fruit of Fate. The Legend of the Creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. About the identity of that woman. GSHUG. Portgas Dana hesitated and finally said it. After all, Lu Chengkong's current strength has surpassed him. Even if he knew it, it was nothing. Oh, the one from Tenryubito. Lu Chengkong's eyes flashed, and he looked at Portgas Dana cautiously, waiting quietly for her next words. I've been looking back on things from the past recently and found that I neglected a lot of things as a kid. Wait, did your life return to your brain? Lu Chengkong suddenly interrupted Portgas Dana's words, staring at her for a while. What's so surprising? You, a disciple, have stepped into this realm one step earlier than my teacher. If I, a master, don't make a breakthrough, it will be a real shame. Although Portgas Dana said it simply, the corners of her mouth were turned up by Vivi, and she was obviously a little proud. After all, there are many people who have realized the true return of life throughout the ages, but they can practice the return of life to the brain, even the inside of the brain. It can be said that there are very few people who can control everything perfectly, and the number of people who have cultivated to this level is definitely not more than 30. Okay, don't interrupt me. I control my brain to remember some details that I forgot and ignored when I was a child. I suspect that the woman is one of the 20 kings who established the world government. Madden, what a shocking piece of news. It would be shocking news if it was released to let the people of the Great Channel know that the 20 King Tenryubito did not die. How is that possible? Can people live for so many years? Even if we return our life to our brain and perfectly control all the organs in our body, we are only one step away from being able to control and change our genes, but at most we people will only be able to fight to the death. They can only make do with living for a few hundred years. If the 20 kings are still alive at worst, they will be more than 100 years old. God, even if they can survive, they don't have much strength, right? Quote. Lu Chengkong shook his head a little unacceptably, and said with a look of disbelief. I don't believe it either, but I have to believe that it can make the current world government feel extremely dreadful, and keep putting up with the rubbish on the surface of Tenryubito, and even make the Gorosei, 5 elders dare not take the huge amount that Tenryubito has accumulated over countless years. There is only one reason for the wealth, that is, their 20 kings are still alive, or in other words, one of the 20 kings is still alive. Do you remember what the woman said in the Remnant Blood Island? Portgas Dana seems to have known that Lu Chengkong would not believe it. In fact, anyone who listens to it can't believe it. After all, it is really absurd. Do not believe. She said that Angelina was the lost descendant of the 20 kings, the descendant of the real king. Logically speaking, if the 20 kings died, then only Angelina would survive with their bloodline, and the most noble bloodline would also be it should be her. But the last sentence of the woman said that the nobility of blood is only below her, and some details that I ignored when I was a child, combined, that woman should be one of the 20 kings in Tenryubito, and maybe still the strongest one. Angelina has also existed for a long time, but she was sealed. It was not until the last few decades that the seal was released, and her lifespan began to disappear. The previous Angelina should have always been sealed as a baby sleeping, until recently. Wake up and begin to grow up in Remnant Blood Island. Portgas Dana said softly, rolling her eyes. Indeed, some of the 20 kings should have eaten the fruit of life and the fruit of light, or some superhuman fruit abilities. The abilities of devil fruits are endless and strange. It is not surprising to have such abilities, but I know that very well. Women only ate devil fruits when I was young, so if your guess is true, wouldn't she have eaten devil fruits for 100 years? Lu Chengkong said. Then do you know what kind of fruit she eats? Portgas Dana hurriedly asked. Obviously, these are all clues. If you know yourself and your enemy, you will be victorious in every battle. Who knows if the happy pirates will become an enemy of that woman in the future? Of course, in advance do your research and understand. I don't know, but it's definitely Logia, and she said that the fruit she eats is comparable to the mirror fruit I eat. Lu Chengkong's mind echoed a long-held image, which was what the woman ate back then. Devil fruit appearance. What? It's troublesome now. Portgas Dana's face was a little ugly. In the past 3 years, she has completely realized the terribleness of Lu Chengkong's mirror image fruit. If it was said that the mirror image clone with strength and ability of the other party was terrible in the past, so now Lu Chengkong's mirror fruit is simply a trembling, terrifying existence, but Lu Chengkong actually said that the fruit that the woman eats can be comparable to the mirror fruit. The fruit of destiny. Lu Chengkong and Portgas Dana's eyes flashed, almost in unison. That's right, with the continuous development, the horror of the mirror fruit has emerged. Even Portgas Dana, who is not the owner of the mirror fruit, was so shocked to see Lu Chengkong's ability, let alone being the mirror fruit. The owner's Lu Chengkong is gone, and only Lu Chengkong understands the horror of the mirror fruit. It's really troublesome. If she is really the owner of the most mysterious fruit of destiny, then it's really a bit difficult to start. Lu Chengkong pressed his temple with a bit of a headache. Fate, let alone ability, is mysterious enough. In Chinese mythology, everything related to Pengu is powerful and earth-shattering. The people or things that are attached to it are also the same as the former. Destiny is just a word that is obscure, let alone the mystery contained in this fruit. Okay, what do we think about? All we can do is to do our best to obey the destiny. Although I don't like to leave these things to the illusory god, the unknown is the most terrifying. Portgas Dana looked very relaxed, but as long as you look into her eyes, you will find that her eyes are also extremely heavy at this time. That's right, the Straw Hat Pirates have landed, so it's time for Lucci and the others to act. Before Lu Chengkong's words were finished, Salas who appeared beside him had interrupted him. Robin and Connus have gone to lead the Straw Hats to Iceberg's side. 232 Music Ecstasy. The Legend of the Creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. It's also the two of them who are the most suitable to lead the Straw Hat Gang without any flaws. Lu Chengkong understood Isho, stood up, and took Salas and Portgas Dana to the show. After 3 years of fighting in the New World, Connus' musical fruit has become stronger and stronger. In addition to making people fall into eternal sleep, it can also make people who are fascinated by music unknowingly follow Connus' ideas. And when I wake up, not only will I not remember the things I was fascinated by music before, but it is even difficult for me to think back to everything before. Over time, I will forget this thing in my heart, as if I have never discovered it. I feel that there is any abruptness in my heart. As for Robin's ability, it should not be underestimated with the development. It really corresponds to the sentence. There is no garbage fruit ability, only garbage users. Robin's use of the original flower fruit seems very ordinary and useless, but this is not the case here. With the advice and teachings of Lu Chengkong and others, Robin's own strength has increased, his physical skills are strong, hockey is strong, and fruit ability is strong, so the power contained in the created hand is equally huge. For example, the one hand summoned by Robin has her normal strength, then the combination of two has twice her strength. The power contained in the big hand composed of 1,000 hands is so terrible that you can think about it with your toes. It can be imagined, and if there is an assassination, it will be silent. Even Robin's people have been killed without seeing it. Robin's arrival is only to deal with some unexpected things. After all, the people of the Happy Pirates have a purpose in everything they do, and try to be as watertight as possible. People can complete it, so in order not to have any accidents, add another one just in case to deal with some unexpected situations. That guy Usopp is also true. The money is taken away, it's not impossible to get it back. Luffy said with an unhappy face. Forget it, since he left the group without authorization, he has to bear the consequences of his own choice. I just don't know why I suddenly felt uneasy tonight, as if something major was going to happen. Mister, she said seriously. Curly eyebrows, do you feel this way too? Zoro rarely quarreled with Sanji, but his face was very heavy. A swordsman's intuition told him that from the moment he arrived in the water capital, it seemed as if there was an invisible big hand who was secretly manipulating everything in an unknown place, and they seemed to be the chess pieces that this big hand was playing with. He was very uncomfortable. Just when Sanji was about to speak, it sounded wonderfully beautiful, like weeping, containing all kinds of emotions, but it was not abrupt. Mao Duan's music suddenly sounded in their ears, including thick lines. Luffy, all the people in the Straw Hat group felt that their eyelids seemed to become extremely heavy in an instant, like a 10,000 catty mountain. What's going on? It's so heavy, there's something wrong with the music. Zoro is worthy of being the most determined person in the Straw Hat Pirates. After many battles, although he is still far away from Daijinhao, his will is in a certain way. However, it can play a big role in time, and even strength can't make up for it. Don't put me to sleep, Luffy. The same is true for Sanji, who woke up only one step slower than Zoro after the ship of terror faced Moria, and immediately kicked over when he saw that Luffy was actually asleep. It's a pity that the rubber man is not afraid of blows, not afraid of any blows when it does not exceed the range that the rubber can withstand. Plus Sanji himself has to fight against this wave of music, but he can't show much of his strength, and the kick was not an enemy. Of course, there was room for him, so he couldn't kick Luffy up at all. Damn it! Zoro screamed secretly. After a few seconds, everyone in the Straw Hat Pirates except him and Sanji fell asleep. It was even strange that the sleeping person stood up, as if they were being controlled. Generally, there are really people behind the scenes, and they are very powerful. I can't sleep. I am a person who is a great swordsman. I have already lost once, and I must never lose again. Zoro kept cheering himself up in his heart, gritted his teeth against this magical music of his own will. It's a pity that the difference in strength can't be made up simply by firm will. What's more, the battles Kanes' musical fruit has experienced over the years are not what Zoro can imagine now. No matter how firm he is, no matter how he resisted, a few seconds later, after Sanji fell down, he fell asleep like everyone else. It's worthy of being admired by Hawkeye. Although his strength is not strong, he has been able to wait 5 seconds longer under my music. The most powerful person in the entire Straw Hat Pirates may not be you, but the one with the strongest will is definitely you. Quote. Kanes, who was not far from the house, suddenly spoke up, with a hint of admiration in her tone. She was used to seeing strong people in the New World. If Zoro's strength is very strong, then she is not worthy of her admiration at all. To be surprised, but Zoro's firmness of will and competitive spirit did make her a little admired. Okay Kanes, hurry up, or it'll be bad if you're too late and take Frankie away. Nico Robin, a woman full of intellectual beauty, is very calm. You must know that her comprehensive strength under the guidance of the previous Queen of Nine Snake Island is not comparable to the original work. Even compared to the current Rob Lucci, it may be only just one level off. After all, the dark life and battles that Rob Lucci experienced were not in vain. Coupled with the hockey cultivation method taught to them by Lu Chengkong, their strength is also improving all the time. It is not only one person who will improve, and the world will not only revolve around turnaround alone. Understood, Sister Luo Bing. Kanes stuck out her pink tongue to Nico Robin cutely, and waved the strings gracefully, without making any sound, but the Straw Hat Gang opened it. The door, except for closing his eyes, dashed towards Iceberg's residence without any difference as usual. Zongkong, our mission here is completed. Nicole Robin's eyes flashed with emotion. She with a strong personality gritted her silver teeth to keep the water in her eyes from falling to the ground. How could she with a high IQ? I don't know what Lu Chengkong thinks, although Lu Chengkong didn't say it clearly, but she has already guessed that Lu Chengkong spent so much effort to make this play to a large extent for her. For a moment, Lu Chengkong's appearance was deeply reflected in Robin's heart, leaving an indelible mark. 233 The drama is on. The legend of the creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. Really? Then you can come here too. It's time to watch the big movie, and it's time to harvest the hole that has been paved for so long. GSHUG. The little phone bug in Nico Robin's hand suddenly heard Lu Chengkong's voice. Obviously, these little going phone bugs transformed by Lackey are more powerful than the phone bugs given by Kapal, and they are still not eavesdropping. It is very convenient to use. It has now been put into production. All the members of the main ship and the auxiliary ship of the Happy Pirates, and of course the newly added Hawkeye, are also staffed. Well, I'll be there later. Nicole Robin responded, and then stepped down, flying in the sky with the moon step and vacated to Iceberg's residence together with Canis. I really didn't expect it to be you. Iceberg vomited a mouthful of blood. There was no sneak attack from Robin in the original book, and there was no Khalifa as his secretary to communicate with each other, but Rob Lucci and the others could also find clues from it, and knew that Iceberg had stolen the Hades design. The picture is fake, that's why it came out like this. Are these guys still human? They have perverted abilities. The only difference is that the person guarding Iceberg at this time is Frankie. That's right, Frankie's appearance is also Lu Chengkong. What the director of the play arranged. After all, without Robin, Iceberg, who has nothing, is very dangerous to face P, and the existence of Frankie can delay time and protect Iceberg. We are the secret espionage agency P directly under the world government, and we have been subjected to terrifying training that is beyond human imagination since we were young. This is not something that you, a half-transformed person who is simply transformed into, can compare. Kaku glanced at Frankie. All of P's participation in this mission actually had feelings for Iceberg. After all, Iceberg's personality is really nothing to say, but as their consciousness suppressed their feelings, otherwise Kaku wouldn't have said that after he was defeated by Zoro. The next step is Rob Lucci's self-talking performance like the original. In fact, Rob Lucci doesn't need to say so much or tell Iceberg so much. He can just kill Iceberg and take Frankie away, but he didn't do it. Obviously, after living here for 5 years, no feelings at all are fake, so he chose another way, using what Iceberg said was useless, and then let it go without violating the rules and interests of the world government. Worth of Iceberg. Boom. Don't have that sentence to return Robin, but it turned into a stop for me. Apparently they woke up after coming to the door of Iceberg. After listening to Rob Lucci's words, even the rough-hearted Luffy I also roughly understood what was going on. At least I understood in my heart that Lucci and the others were not good people and wanted to kill Iceberg. They are the shipbuilders you were with, aren't they? Luffy glanced at Barry next to him. Under Lu Chengkong's secret control, although the development of the capital of water was different from the original book, it was still roughly the same, the Straw Hat's money. Stealed by Frankie, Usopp leaves because of Mary's duel with Luffy. Later, under the guidance of Lu Chengkong, he learned that the boat with the Straw Hat has a boat spirit, so he planned to use the stolen money to buy them the treasure tree atom, repair it if it can be repaired, or build a new one for them if it cannot be repaired. And Luffy's group, who had already planned to give up all this, also forgave him after knowing that Frankie planned to help them get a ship that only had one piece, King of Pirates, Lu Chengkong, Hawkeye and others. After learning about Lanky's money-grabbing behavior, Iceberg also scolded Frankie angrily, and then greeted the Straw Hats well. Although the time together was very short, Iceberg's personality was undoubtedly rewarded. Approved by the Straw Hats. Now I see such a situation, whether it's because of Iceberg and Frankie's promise to build a ship for them before or because of Iceberg's care for them, because of human affection, and the pirate ship matter is also the character of the Straw Hats. I will never stand by after seeing such a thing. Sure enough, Rob Lucci discovered the people outside early in the morning, but he pretended not to notice, but continued to talk like no one else, just to let Iceberg blatantly let go, but what he did was to anger Barry with the Straw Hats and others, but that's what Lucci wanted. You lied to me, you can speak at all. I just heard the same voice as the man in the mask with the bull's head, you bastard, the ultimate flying knife. Barry roared, a dozen or 20 flying knives tied to the reins, the knife snatched away at Rob Lucci. Stop, Barry. Iceberg raised his head and shouted, although he is not a strong man, don't forget that Frankie's strength from the original book is at least 100 points of strength, but he can beat the original book. Fukuro's, although there are elements of carelessness and luck, if it is not strong enough, no matter how lucky it will not be successful. But with Lu Chengkong's influence, his strength is far from what P in the original book can match. Frankie can only be completely ravaged by the weakest Bluno, so he can see the strength of P, and Frankie is not at all. Opponents, and Barry, whose strength is below Frankie, is even less likely to resist. Shave, Shigan, finger pistol. Rob Lucci instantly disappeared in place, made a series of stomping sounds, and came to Barry's front in an instant. Under the gaze of Barry's rapidly shrinking pupils, Lucci's fingers were easily inserted as if pierced through cotton. His body. Ah! Barry screamed, only to fall down after a while. Hey, the rope guy. Luffy's expression changed, and his right hand immediately extended to bring Barry back. Don't force it, we have learned the moves that go beyond the limits of the human body. After long-term training, the human body has physical skills that match the weapons. Rokushiki, his strength can be defeated by 100, anyway, it is a dead end, sad my friend. Lucci said as if he was about to start, but the Straw Hat gang couldn't stand it any longer, and Luffy, who was the most excited, immediately kicked it. It's a pity that the speed is so slow, let alone the current Lucci, even the original Lucci can easily take over, but Luffy's attacks are coming one after another. Rubber machine gun. Luffy kept punching like a machine gun. Iron. Rob Lucci's expression remained the same, he didn't take Luffy's attack seriously at all, and even armament hockey didn't use it. He just used the most basic iron, and let Luffy's attack hit his body with strength like a mosquito. Just like a bite, it doesn't hurt or itch. 234 beat Luffy, Zoro. The Legend of the Creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. It's not good. Lucci shook his head, and after several shaving speeds far faster than the original Luffy was hit by a Shigan finger pistol in the throat with a powerful force that knocked him off without even responding. Out. Zoro's pupils shrank, and he immediately stepped forward. With his extraordinary eyesight, he could see that Luffy had nothing to do with it. After all, the endurance of the rubber is not so easy to reach the limit, not to mention that Lucci has no strength at all. The shot is just a casual play, and it is also to vent the depression brought about by the undercover life in the past 5 years. Clang! The crisp sound of the two swords colliding suddenly sounded in the room. Kaku did not know when to appear in front of Zoro, holding two long knives that looked like sawn wood and easily blocked Zoro's slashing. We met on the boat, Roronoa. Kaku's eyes flickered. Although Zoro's strength was not in his eyes at this time, Zoro's terrifying competitive spirit and made Kaku regard him as an opponent, did not underestimate him because of this. At this time, Kaku had the heart that a real strong man should have. Just like Hawkeye, Zoro is clearly a gap between heaven and earth compared to him. When he also regards Zoro as the opponent. You're not a boat repairer, so the identification at that time was fake. Is there still help for Mary? Zoro's face was a little gloomy. After all, being deceived is not so pleasant. It's a pity, the inspection and identification at that time was absolutely correct. Kaku's face remained unchanged, and he pushed Zoro out with both hands, but Zoro was also not easy to mess with, since the other party also used knives, and his strength was so strong, then he had to defeat him. He stomped on the ground with both feet, completely cracked the floor, and stabilized his whole body. At the same time, he rushed towards Kaku with the force of the rebound, and fought with Kaku with both hands wielding the knife. There is no Robin, so Zoro is not distracted, so he is not pierced by Kaku's Shigen finger pistol, but the difference in strength will soon be revealed. After all, Kaku's strongest is not swordsmanship, but physical skills. After the two knives were cut off by Zoro's famous knives, Kaku pressed one hand on the ground like a hip-hop dance, and made a 360-degree rotation, and his right hand shot out like lightning, shooting directly at Zoro. Oops, the three-knife-style tornado. Zoro's attacking move is Annoyance Wind, while the one to be defended against is Tornado, but the power contained in Kaku's Shigen finger pistol is obviously beyond Zoro's budget. Not only throwing him away, the sword energy like a tornado was interrupted, but instead, he slammed the whole person out, and slammed into the wall. How is that possible? Luffy and Zoro were defeated in an instant. Jack made up, the male navigator in place of Nami, and Chopper beside him opened their mouths in surprise. Their eyes almost bulged out. You know the Straw Hats see Luffy and Zoro are the strongest of the three giants of the thief group, but these two were defeated instantly in the face of P. The gap is really too big. Don't talk nonsense, I'm not defeated. Zoro spat out a mouthful of blood and stood up as if nothing happened, as did Luffy in the straw hat beside him. Lucci, time is up, if you don't leave, it will explode. Just as Kaku and Lucci were going to play again, Bluenose suddenly said, and they, who were planning to relax, also put away their hearts. We're running out of time, but since we met, let's see some interesting things at the end. Lucci nodded, indicating that he knew, and then his body suddenly became bigger and bigger, but the strange thing was that there was no clothes. Lu Chengkong, who had been watching from the outside, almost couldn't help shouting when he was broken. Haha, I know I guessed right, Lucci's clothes that can't be broken after transforming are really products that were produced on the island of Kaido. Lu Chengkong thought to himself, and at the same time felt that his arrangement was not in vain. Such a real version of the movie is much more fun than watching anime battles on the computer. I found that your arrangement is really good. It's good to enjoy the battle like watching a movie. Angelina's delicate pretty face was full of joy, and she was obviously very happy to watch it. It's time to end, and it's time for Canis to appear. Otherwise the first time the Straw Hat is killed in the second episode of the Enies Lobby battle will not be able to continue. Lu Chengkong smiled wickedly. He found that he seemed to be becoming more and more evil recently. No, how could I become evil? It must be the reason of the demon blood in my body. Yes, it must be the case. If the person on Earth who sent Lu Chengkong to the world of One Piece, King of Pirates at this time knew that Lu Chengkong's thoughts would make him mad. Even though the demon spirit he got was not as good as the heaven and the earth bred the incomparably precious peerless treasures of heaven and earth. But how could it make people evil? After all, this is not a crude counterfeit product, it is produced by him, and it is absolutely guaranteed. That is just a kind of bloodline. At most, it will bring powerful potential and various incredible abilities to the owner of the bloodline. As long as the person who has mastered the bloodline of the demon will not be affected, it is obviously not the bloodline that is evil, but the bloodline of the demon. The evil side that had been hidden in Lu Chengkong's heart was only released by Lu Chengkong himself. This huge body, what the hell is going on? Barry stared at Rob Lucci's amazing changes, his mouth trembling a little. Time is running out, and it's time to solve you. Because Frankie is here, Rob Lucci and the others don't need to go to Frankie, they can just solve Iceberg directly, but it's just when Lucci is ready to take action that's when Luffy's whip punch also arrives, punching Rob Lucci in the face. Stinky pigeons. It's a pity that Luffy, who saw that his attack seemed to have worked and was ready to continue his efforts, only felt a flower in front of his eyes, and at the same time, Lucci had used Shigen finger pistol to penetrate his stomach. Luffy. Zoro's face changed greatly. Just when he was about to rush to help with Jack the navigator beside him, Lucci was about to throw Luffy out. It's just that variables often happen right after death. Suddenly, a melodious piece of music came from outside, and Zoro, who heard this music again, finally remembered something that was about to be forgotten. It's the sound that controls us, Zoro said. At the same time Sanji, who had been hiding on the side, suddenly appeared, turned into a sharp arrow and rushed towards Lucci. Although it couldn't cause any damage to Lucci, it was successful. Saved Luffy. The four of P.'s ears seemed to penetrate their hearts when they heard the music in their ears, and at the same time, a spectacle appeared above the ceiling that Lucci had kicked to pieces. 235 Enies Lobby Event Opening. The Legend of the Creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. What is that? Sanji looked up. His tone was slightly surprised by Tien, and saw that the dark night sky suddenly burst into a golden light, like a little sun in the dark night. AGS huge. That's a seagull. How could it be like this? It's like a word. Chopper's eyes bulged and he screamed. At that time, a group of seagulls appeared, and these seagulls actually placed the word, go. Let them go. Rob Lucci originally planned to let Iceberg go and kill the Straw Hats, but when he saw the word in the sky, he could use music to control all of this, and only those in the Happy Pirates would be able to do this. So he immediately understood that Lu Chengkong wanted him to let go of the people here. Let's go. Rob Lucci changed directly from a leopard to a human body, and didn't say anything. Kaku, Bluno and Fukuro, who had been locked his mouth and couldn't speak, didn't have any objection. Obviously they also understood what the wonders in the sky meant. After taking Frankie directly, several of them left quickly. How did they leave? Zoro was a little puzzled. He felt Rob Lucci's killing intent towards them just now, but after the sound of the piano, Rob Lucci's killing intent subsided at an astonishing speed, and now it is even more so. It's really weird to just turn around and walk away. It's them. Only Iceberg, who was the mayor, was quick-witted and knew the inside story, guessed that it was the Easy Pirates. Although I don't know what's going on, but it seems to be safe for now. Jack breathed a sigh of relief. After Rob Lucci's transformation, the pressure on him was too great. Now that Rob Lucci is gone, his whole people are also relaxed. Come on, have you forgotten that there is a bomb here? Sanji said with a bit of hatred, and immediately picked up the injured Luffy, while Barry on the side also carried Iceberg on his back, completely disregarding the wound on his body. The Straw Hats left the market office and lounge. Sure enough, as soon as they walked on the front foot and just left the building, an explosion exploded from behind, and the terrifying flames covered the entire office building. Iceberg, it's the mayor of Iceberg, they are all right. When the people outside saw that Iceberg was all right, they cheered and walked over to surround Iceberg, as if they were afraid of being hurt again. From this, it can be seen that Iceberg's popularity and prestige in this water capital are really high. Is the Straw Hat Boy all right? Iceberg glanced at Luffy lying not far from him, and asked worriedly. He just saw Lucci's Shigan finger pistol punched in the stomach. Normal people have long been bleed to death. I'm so hungry. It's a pity that the first sentence Luffy said made Iceberg's head full of black lines, let alone him. Even Zoro and Sanji, who were used to Luffy's nerves, were a bit of a shamefully turned around and pretended not to know him. Okay, I'll talk about it tomorrow. Iceberg was helped up. He glanced at the people around him and asked what stopped them immediately. He was right, after all, many people here are injured. To be treated in time. Of course, the Straw Hats didn't have any opinions. Except for the Straw Hat Luffy, who still looked heartless. Zoro, Sanji, and Jack Chopper exchanged glances. They knew very well that the real battle might be possible. It's just now, after all, they saw Frankie being taken away with their own eyes, and Frankie's life is on the boat of their Straw Hats, so they knew very well that they were going to fight Rob Lucci and others again soon. The next morning, after a meal, Luffy had recovered to 7 or 7. As expected, he was indeed the son of life, and his resilience was very powerful. Except for Lu Changkong, the pervert and the fruit of life, Dana and Khalifa, the owners of the fruit of light, Luffy may be the strongest in terms of natural resilience other than humans. Inside the Straw Hat's house, Iceberg dragged many injured bodies to find them as Sanji and the others thought. I think everyone has a general understanding of their purpose. I know that my request is too much, but I can only say it here with the cheek. Frankie has the design of the ancient weapon Pluto and your new ship. The blueprints are all on his body, and they cannot fall into the hands of the world government in any case. I would like to ask everyone to rescue him. Quote. Iceberg said that Vivi paused here, but in the end he didn't force Luffy, and then said. Of course I won't force you. After all, it is very unwise to be the enemy of the world government. If you don't agree, I will do my best to build a boat for you when the treasure tree Adam Wood arrives. It may be better than the performance. It wasn't designed by me and Frankie, but it's absolutely fine to navigate the new world, but I'm still here to hope you'll agree to my rude request. Speaking of which, Iceberg actually knelt down under the surprised eyes of the Straw Hats, and kowtowed 3 times to the Straw Hats. Obviously, his friendship with Frankie is actually very deep, but it has always been because of certain things. There is a gap between them, but once the life of the other party is related, whether it is Iceberg or Frankie, they will give everything for each other, even if it is the so-called dignity, their lives can be completely lost. Luffy, you are the captain, you decide. Sanji directly threw the problem to Luffy. Without the incident of the original Robin, of course they don't have to try so hard to save, but now facing Iceberg's request, he really does not know what to do. After all, the opponent's strength is too strong, so I still leave the problem to Luffy to make a decision. Zoro, Chopper, Jack, and the 3 of them have no objection to this, because they all know that, after getting along for so long, Luffy is usually not normal, rough, simple, and even a little idiot, but once he is a bit of an idiot at a critical moment a very dependable person, and displayed an extraordinary level of calmness and wit. I don't like pigeons. I said that I must fly him, and if Mary breaks down once, I don't want my ship and my partner to break down again. Our pirate team needs a good shipbuilder, Fran. She is our default captain, although he did not promise us, but I must have him join us. For our new partner, the pirate ship and Frankie, we must go to rescue him. Quote. Luffy pondered for a while, put down the roast meat and buns in his hands, and raised his head suddenly. His eyes were full of tears, obviously thinking of Mary. He couldn't help crying anymore. 236 Little Confused Nami. The Legend of the Creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. Hearing this, Sanjishi, Zoro and others felt that Luffy's decision was impulsive, but they were very rational, and they didn't want to experience a pirate ship leaving them in their hearts. AGS huge. After all, they also regard the Mary as a partner, and Frankie's shipbuilding skills are indeed very good. One of the 2 disciples of the shipbuilder who built the sea train and the ship of One Piece, King of Pirates, so many halos it would be strange not to choose Frankie. Hey, don't be so impulsive, okay. Their strength is very strong. That Rokushiki is really terrible, our attack is completely useless to them. Jack saw Zoro, Sanji, and even it was Chopper, who is usually timid, who nodded in agreement and couldn't help but say. Although he also thinks Luffy's words are very reasonable, but in the face of this kind of enemy, if they are bad, they are all small. He regards Luffy and them as indispensable partners, and he doesn't want Luffy and them to die because of it. I agree with Luffy's decision. Do you remember what Lu Changkong said? In the New World in the second half of the Great Waterway, there are so many strong people, even a strong Shichibukai like Crocodile hates Whitebeard and Roger for not being able to beat him. There are so many silver medal winners that swallow the sound. If we can't even defeat these people, then sooner or later going to the New World will be a dead end. In this case, I might as well fight. Zoro remembered Lu Changkong's words and actually directly agreed with Luffy's seemingly reckless, but very rational decision. Zoro suffered a lot when he knew that Kuina had already boarded Lu Changkong's boat and that his strength was far ahead of himself. It's a big blow, so he has to catch up and must not fall behind. Although I don't want to pander to Chlorela's words, this time I have to admit that what he said makes sense. Sanji didn't forget to stimulate Zoro while agreeing. Maybe I should go and ask them. Iceberg was very moved. He was also a little surprised to hear Zoro mention Lu Chengkong. He didn't expect that this pirate group would actually see that person. At this time, he was a dead horse and a living horse doctor. After the Straw Hat Gang agreed, he immediately went to Lu Chengkong and the others. Iceberg, I know your intentions very well, I don't need to say anything. If they can last a while, I will shoot. As long as he can last as long as I need, then I will send Frank back in good condition. Here's to you, otherwise. Lu Chengkong looked at Iceberg in front of him, and even told him what he wanted to say before he even opened his mouth. I am very grateful. Although Iceberg doesn't know how long it will take, at least he has a little more hope. He didn't blame or get angry. After all, the gap between the two sides is too great. Now the other party has also promised that he will shoot, so that is enough. He has done his best, and now he can only obey the destiny. Zhang Kong, the Straw Hat Pirates and P and the others seem to be far apart in strength. How could they possibly win? Nami said with a coquettish look on her face. Nami, who did not wander around stealing money because of the Arlong incident and the loss of her mother, although she likes money the same, is not as fanatical as the original, and is not as mature as the original, but her figure has grown. As advanced. You should ask Donna clearly about this. Lu Chengkong threw the question directly to Donna, and Nami immediately ran to Donna with a small waist and a small fat buttocks. The pair seemed to be able to talk. His eyes were fixed on Portgas Dana, as if you didn't explain it to me and I looked at you all day. Nami, Chengkong never thought that Luffy and the others could win. All he needed was to use their hands to lead Buster Call out, although they couldn't possibly win P, but it's okay to fight for a while, people. The potential of a pirate often bursts out in the face of strong enemies and death. We are like this, and so are they. For them, if they can survive this battle, they will be qualified to be pirates. Portgas Dana O Isho, although Robin beside him had guessed this early in the morning, but after hearing Dana's words, her delicate body trembled slightly imperceptibly, and her teeth nibbled on her red lips. She doesn't have a good impression of the Revolutionary Army or Monkey Dragon, so even if Luffy was conceived with the energy of the Fruit of Life, because of Monkey Dragon, he doesn't have a good impression of Luffy. Of course, seeing Luffy's innocent and silly appearance, she also has no disgust, and that's why Portgas Dana doesn't care much about Luffy's life or death. Portgas Dana used the Fruit of Life to create Luffy for Dragon for profit reasons. It was not biological, and there was no blood relationship. They hadn't been together for so many years, and their feelings were not at all. In addition, my heart for Monkey Dragon, she didn't like it, so she didn't care much about Luffy's life and death, and she only spoke so casually. Oh, Nami seemed to understand, but she was confused, but her dazed appearance looked very cute, especially Lu Chengkong, who was accustomed to Nami's appearance in the original anime. Seeing Nami, who was like a little confused at this time, her heart couldn't help but sway a little. He didn't know when he discovered that Nami was the cutest and most attractive when she was showing a dazed and confused expression. It still lacks the baptism of blood and fire, just like Kanis a few years ago, but I think Nami and Nojiko should mature after the big event. Lu Chengkong is more and more eager for the big event to come. Now, in such a war, how could the happy pirates not get involved? Now that the decision has been made, the Straw Hats and Usopp, who has become the Block King, immediately got on the special sea train owned by Granny Kokolo and chased after Enies Lobby. Of course, they were also ship repairers in the capital city. And the Frankie family. Have they all gone? Then it's time for us to go too. Marine has hunted me down so many times. It's time for me to give them a present. Sengoku, you have to pick it up. I heard Garp talking about you. The heart is not very good. You must not die of a heart attack, and the big events are not as much fun as you do to thread the needle. Quote. After Lu Chengkong had a beautiful breakfast, he immediately brought Hancock, who didn't talk much recently, and could even be said to be unsmiling, as well as Khalifa, Nami, Lackey, Nojiko, Kaya, etc. The happy sails towards the Ennie's lobby. 237 Hockey of CP9. The legend of the creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. It's so fast. Compared with the previous Xiaoyao, the normal sailing speed of the new Xiaoyao does not include those functions. With the support of the jet and the flight system, the normal speed alone is 3 times faster than that of the Xiaoyao. It's amazing. Nami stood on the huge bow with a look of enjoyment, enjoying the feeling of the sea breeze blowing her face. When she was in the water capital these days, she was just studying the functions of this new happy ship. Although she had basically mastered it, after all, I have never sailed on the sea, and now I can't help cheering loudly when I get on the boat and look at the rapidly receding scenery on both sides and the water that is getting smaller and smaller. Now try to familiarize yourself with this ship, and use it all for your own use. When you return to the new world, the disasters of the weather and the sea will not be as simple as they are now. Lu Chengkong stared at Nami, who was a little overwhelmed, and immediately reminded him, and at the same time, he also pulled back Nami, who was intoxicated in his inner world. I see. Nami blushed, and stuck out her tongue at Lu Chengkong cutely and playfully, but the enjoyment and joy on her face were also put away, replaced by seriousness and seriousness. She has never been to the new world, but listening to Lackey, Canis and the others talking about the new world, she can imagine the horror of the new world. As a navigator, she has a great burden. Sure enough, although Belmere is not dead, and Nami is not as mature as the original, but the essence of a person has not changed. The same rationality is never ambiguous when it comes to business. Lu Chengkong stood on the side and saw that Nami was concentrating on controlling the Shin Xiaoyao, and she was obviously familiar with all the functions of the ship. Lu Chengkong was very satisfied with her energetic appearance. Nami has grown up. Not only him, but even Biermeier, a mother, was a little relieved to see Nami's appearance at this time. Not only was Nami happier than before with this group of people, and it grows and matures every day. For a mother, there is nothing more satisfying than watching her child grow up day by day, and at the same time, she is more and more satisfied and happy with her decision to bring Nami and Nojiko into the Easy Pirates. Get out of the way, stupid cow. Luffy looked at the door not far from him, but unfortunately it was blocked by Bluno, who came out with door fruit. It seems that you haven't noticed what you are doing. What you are doing now is world-class crime fighting. Your behavior is equivalent to being an enemy of more than 170 countries in the world government. Bluno felt a little strange. The people in front of him seemed to be nothing special, so why did the former captain of his the current 4 emperors Lu Chengkong let him and others let them go, but since the other party was still stalking after letting them go, then he doesn't need to be merciful anymore. You and me are meaningless to fight. Our physical skills Rokushiki have been experienced by you when you were in the water capital. All your moves have no effect on me. That's right, I just don't know why. I just don't think I'm losing to you now. Luffy's eyes suddenly burst into 2 groups of flames that seemed to be real, and there was an imperceptibly powerful aura on his body. Obviously, with his psychological changes, the conqueror Haki in his body gradually began to wake up, but at this time it was only just beginning to wake up, and it had no effect. Rubber cyclotron bomb. As soon as Luffy said this, he immediately rushed towards Bluno like a tiger out of its cage. The entire arm twisted and twisted, and a whirlwind of air surrounded Luffy's arm. It was much faster than when he was in the capital of water, like a huge breakthrough in strength overnight. Iron. Bluno's expression didn't change. When Luffy's fist hit him, his expression changed imperceptibly. Bluno's strength at this time is not comparable to the original anime, but even so his body still took 2 steps back, but he didn't vomit blood like the original. The strength is much stronger than that of the water capital. It seems that I underestimate you. Bluno thought to himself, the weakest comprehensive strength in P can be said to be him and Kumadori, but if he really fights, his strength is still slightly better than Kumadori, just because of the previous evaluation of Luffy, so he was not serious at all, and the iron block was not used to the strongest point, but even so, he was surprised. It's changed overnight, but what if your strength has broken through? Compared to me who has been trained a lot, it's still not enough to look at, not to mention I still haven't used hockey. Bluno had no interest in Luffy. Yes, but seeing that Luffy's strength has improved so much, he is also interested, and wants to see how far Luffy's bottom line is. Machine gun. Luffy doesn't care what Bluno is thinking, he only has one thought in his mind, that is to defeat Bluno, take Frankie, and not let the Mary incident happen again. He doesn't want to lose his partner anymore. In his heart Mary is his buddy, and Frankie's shipbuilding and ship repair skills will clearly keep him from losing his mate. Shaved. Bluno's physical skills alone are indeed at the bottom of P without hockey. His current DAO strength is more than 1,000 at most, close to 2,000. Obviously, his aptitude is better than that of Lucci and there is a big gap between Kaku and others, and their age is close to the largest in P only with physical skills. They can only draw a tie against Luffy at this time. I saw it. Rubber gun. Luffy turned his head, and without thinking, hit the huge vase on the left, hitting Bluno directly. Impossible, how could his eyes keep up with the shaving speed? Bluno was knocked out and stood up and looked at Luffy in surprise. It was obvious that Luffy's performance was far beyond his expectations, but he also understood in his heart. It is obviously impossible for him, who is at the bottom of his physical skills in P, to defeat Straw Hat Luffy with physical skills alone. It seems that I might use the power Lu Chenkong gave me. Bluno thought to himself, although hockey was his own, for everyone in P, they always thought that it was Lu Chenkong who gave them to them. Yes, because they know very well that without Lu Chenkong, they might not even know what hockey is, let alone use the hockey in their bodies for their own use, let alone increase the power of hockey. 238 second gear versus two-color hockey. The legend of the creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. But now, let's see what your bottom line is, Moon Step. GSHUG. Bluno's face sank, no longer underestimating Luffy's mind, he stepped on the void, directly vacated, and then used the razor to charge in the air. Luffy, a Rankyaku Tempest kick past. Wow! Luffy yelled, twisting into a ball and rolling in the air as if he were playing. He narrowly escaped Bluno's Rankyaku Tempest kick, but the stone wall behind him was not so lucky. It was directly smashed. It seems that the power of Bluno's Rokushiki is still not strong enough. Compared with Rob Lucci, Kaku, and Jabra, they are far worse. Iron block, wheel. But in any case, Bluno is experienced in 100 battles, and the Taoist value is 100,000, which is 1,000 higher than the original, so he has not yet used the second gear. Luffy can still have the upper hand. After all, he underestimated Luffy just now, but now he is serious about him as an opponent. It is different if he makes a full effort. Can't hit me. Luffy is still quite agile, his feet are connected, and with his flexible body, he can do all kinds of movements that ordinary people can't do, and escaped Bluno's repeated attacks. It's just that Bluno is not a vegetarian either, and suddenly used the ability of door fruit to open a door on the ground. It's gone. Ah, what's the matter? There are two small doors on the ground. Luffy exclaimed, both feet were sunken, and Bluno also opened the door on the ground again at the same time. Came out. I eat the door fruit of devil fruit, the doorman, turning everything that gets in my way into a door, including this. Bluno said and stroked Luffy's face. The middle face immediately spun, making Luffy dazzling. For a while, it was impossible to tell the difference between east, west and northwest. Rankyaku Tempest kick. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Bluno immediately kicked the Rankyaku Tempest kick, smashing the raised stone in front of him with a bang. Chef Zoro, who was not far below the Enies lobby, immediately looked over and saw Bluno's eyeshadow. Well, I see, Luffy has already fought with P. Sanji nodded, and at the same time the pace of his feet accelerated, not only him, but also everyone around him. The door is closed. Luffy punched the ground beneath his feet and jumped down to dodge the Rankyaku Tempest kick in the closet, closing the door on his face. Of course, the door can be opened and closed. I didn't expect you to avoid the Renkyaku Tempest kick. Bluno nodded and said cautiously. It's no big deal. Luffy smiled indifferently, as if the person he was facing was not his enemy. Shaved, moon step, Shigen finger pistol. Bluno disappeared again with incredible speed, then shot Shigen finger pistol down from the sky in a straight line. Luffy's ear VV moved. Obviously, when the human body can respond to the shaving, the sound when the shaving moves becomes a flaw. If the response cannot keep up, the sound of the shaving is just a flaw that is not a flaw, but it became Bluno's fatal flaw. With hearing, the whole person twisted into a ball and flew backwards in a somersault. After I lost to Kuzan, I kept racking my brains thinking about fighting skills. I don't want to lose my partner, not one. Mary is gone. I will never allow this to happen again. Frankie, I must save. Luffy said solemnly. Second gear. Luffy began to emit steam, and faced with Luffy, whose speed was suddenly doubled in all aspects of his moves, physical skills, and even all aspects of his body, Bluno who didn't use Haki even used it. The fruit ability was also suppressed and beaten, and there was no resistance. How is that possible? It's so funny. Pirates can be familiar with the use of shaving, and even strengthen various parts of the body to the point where they can easily use shaving. Bluno looked at Luffy in disbelief, and couldn't help but see two people in his heart. One was Liu Chengkong, who developed the ability to approach shaving without ever having seen a shave, and the other was Rob Lucci, who was watching. I learned it after Liu Chengkong's shave once, and now Luffy is obviously the same as Rob Lucci. After watching them use shaving, I learned it overnight. Sure enough, his talent in physical skills is definitely on the same level as Lucci. Bluno thought a little speechlessly. When did talent become a common man? In his heart, although Luffy was not as good as Liu Chengkong in terms of talent, he definitely it will not be worse than Rob Lucci. In fact it is the same, if not better than Haki. It is just pure physical talent and aptitude, learning ability, speed, etc. Rob Lucci and Luffy are on the same level. If you count Haki, Luffy is also a conqueror Haki man. The qualification of the king is that Rob Lucci can't compare to him on Haki, but in terms of body, physical skills, learning, and fighting, he is on the same level as Rob Lucci. It was blown out by the world government as the strongest player in the past century. Lucci's talent in physical skills is indeed very high. But it is only in the aspect of Rokushiki. It is not all-round and does not include Haki. It is just Rokushiki and comprehensive combat power. And Luffy is Haki's genius. Only Haki has the nickname of the king's aptitude. After all, there are many kinds of aptitude talents. The classification of each type is different. Haki's talent, physical skill talent, fruit ability talent, etc. Natural talent must be useful. Everyone has their own things, but you can't combine two kinds of talents who are good at different talents. People are confused and compared. Some people are born with strong fruit ability. Like Crocodile, they have poor physical skills and Haki is not strong, but the fruit ability has developed to a shocking strength. Although it is not comparable to Whitebeard, if it is only compared to the fruit ability. The Crocodile in the development level event is definitely not worse than the 3 Admiral. Of course, it is only the strength of the fruit ability, not the comprehensive strength. But no matter what, you're going to die here today. Armament Haki, observation Haki. Although Bluno admires Luffy's aptitude, of course, he may be even more surprised if he knows that Luffy or Conqueror has the qualifications of a king. At this moment he never dared to underestimate Luffy again. In fact, Luffy is not as strong as he thought. Although he saw through the principle of shaving all at once, and even learned to shave, his body is far worse than that of P.S. that has been tempered. And now Luffy is also shave can only be used in second gear, but Bluno was surprised enough anyway. 239 Lucci vs. Luffy. The Legend of the Creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. Rubber Jet Rocket Launcher, GSHUG. Luffy was a little curious as he watched Bluno standing motionless, but he was not allowed to think about it in the second gear. After all, he knew very well how much the second gear would consume his body and mind. If it was wasted if it's time, it's very likely that even Rob Lucci will fall to the ground exhausted without seeing it. I see, take a step to the left. Bluno only felt that a voice in his heart told him Luffy's attack route and thoughts were normal, and his body responded at almost the same time. It seemed dangerous, but in fact he escaped Luffy very easily. Attack. How is that possible? Dodged. Luffy was taken aback. He knew how fast he was in second gear. If it was a pigeon who did, then he thought it was normal, but Bluno actually dodged him. How could this not surprise him? It's very simple, because of your attack, I have heard and understood in advance, so you can't attack me. This is the first time that Bluno has used Haki in actual combat. After all, there are many eyes and ears in the water capital, and it is already very good to practice. He dares to use it casually, and he has no opponents and he wants to use it in the display. As Zingang. That's what the old grandfather on the Pegasus said about Sky Island. Although Luffy never fought Enel, he met his ex-god when he was on Sky Island, and where did he know Zingang? This ability, so when I heard Bluno's words, I immediately summarized this ability into the heart. Zingang. What is it? This is called observation Haki. People who can't use Haki can only be regarded as a low-level existence in the New World. Now I'll let you see what I have achieved in the past 5 years. Armament Haki, Shigen finger pistol, is broken. Crack. Bluno's strange thing was that he didn't rush to Luffy in front of him, but to the right. How could that be? He actually knows what I'm thinking. The strange thing is that Luffy's body has come to the position of Bluno's attack, but although Bluno knows his attack route and thoughts, the gap in strength is still there. Luffy, who is far superior to Bluno in both strength and speed at this time, can still dodge Bluno's attack. After all, being able to predict an attack is one thing, whether it can hit the opponent or be dodged by the opponent is another thing. In the next battle, Luffy tasted the pain of armament Haki, but his talent is there after all. After knowing the ability of observation Haki, he immediately used the original book to face Enel at Sky Island. The trick is to fight, and even he doesn't know where he is, how can Bluno know? Therefore, Bluno, the man who once suppressed Luffy, inevitably went the same route as the original book, that is, he was defeated by Luffy K, but he was honored even though he was defeated, because Luffy was bleeding much more from his body. Obviously armament Haki is still a lot of damage to Luffy, the rubber guy, especially when he cooperates with Rokushiki. What follows is a little different from the original, because Nico Robin is in the Easy Pirates, so Lucci and even the world government's target is only Frankie and the Hades design on him. So in Frank, when she took out the blueprint of Hades, Spandam was still as greedy as in the original book, but after Frankie burned the blueprint, he was full of resentment, while Frankie was talking to his little brother. Pushed him down. Damn, my good chance of promotion and making a fortune was wasted by you. He will do his best to kill everyone who invaded the Enies lobby. Spandam watched as a great opportunity slipped away in front of him, and shouted in anger. There was no key fight in the original book, and even the location of the battle changed. There was a battle over the suspension bridge that was dropped by Spandam and the abyss of the waterfall. Bastard, such a good opportunity, I will definitely not let you die so easily. If I can't be promoted, I also want to entertain you. Spandam thought fiercely in his heart, matching the look on his face. The expression of resentment really makes ordinary people stand upright when they see it, at least it can scare children to tears. Stinky pigeons, I said I'm going to beat you up. Without so many accidents in the original book, the Straw Hat Gang who fought directly face to face with Luffy did his part to choose the strongest Rob Lucci. But it's a pity Lucci it's not the Lucci who only had 4,000 strength points in the original work. Compared to the current Bluno's improvement compared to the original work, Lucci's improvement is even greater. Will be stronger. Defeat Bluno. Bluno's strength is the weakest in P, but using observation Haki and armament Haki, a person with a Dao value below 2,700 can't defeat him at all, so your Dao value is the worst. With more than 3,000 people, it really makes me curious, you have transformed so much in one night, did you make a breakthrough in the face of the oppression of a powerful enemy? Rob Lucci hee isho, with a cruel smile on the corner of his mouth, he easily dodged all of Luffy's attacks, and then swept Luffy out with a whip leg. There was still time to speak. Dao strength. What is Daoism? Luffy stood up, and after a full meal of barbecue, this guy has recovered 7 or 7, and the consumption power is so strong that it is almost the digestion power of the return of life. To put it simply, an ordinary marine soldier holds a weapon with a Dao value of 10, and those of us who are familiar with using Rokushiki, let's take the Blue No you defeated just now, his Dao value is 1000, but with Rokushiki, the two-color hockey, his strength is close to 2500 Dao strength, so now you understand how strong your strength is. Lucci doesn't know why I always have a feeling in my heart that everything about myself is not good after today. It should be said that all the fates of everyone in P will undergo huge changes in the future. Although I don't know why, as a struggle between life and death, it will become stronger. The person who got up really believed in this intuition. I don't know, I just need to beat you. Luffy tilted his head and thought for a while, but he still didn't understand. In fact, even the simplest addition, subtraction, multiplication and division was troublesome for Luffy. Of course, what Lucci said was very complicated compared to Luffy. Really, although your strength has improved a lot compared to the official residence in the water capital, I forgot to tell you that in the official residence, I deliberately kept a lot of hands, and my Dao strength value is not left in the normal state. In the case of 10,000. Quote. 240 The Death of Spandam. The Legend of the Creation of One Piece, King of Pirates. 10,000. Luffy probably didn't know what it meant, but Zoro, who was fighting against Kaku not far away, and Sanji, who was fighting Jabra, shouted in shock. GSHUG. Although I don't want to admit it, but that guy's words are not a lie, his Dao strength is indeed 10,000. If he turns into a leopard and Haki, then his strength is really unimaginable. You must know Haki's power and strength. Whether the strength is strong or not has a lot to do with it. Don't think that Haki is useless if you beat Blueno's Haki and Lucci's Haki are simply the gap between the match and the sun. Jabra's tone was a bit bitter. Obviously, even though the Dao strength in the original book was more than 1000 different from Lucci's 4000, he did not admit defeat, because he didn't think he was worse than Lucci. As long as he worked hard, he had Lu Chenkong's butterfly. Under the storm with the flapping of the wings. Lucci's vision, what he knows, and what he accepts are not comparable to the original work. He seems to have been abandoned for 5 years as an undercover agent in the capital of water. Silently becoming stronger, just like Lu Chenkong dancing on the tip of the knife under the eyes of the world government. Becoming stronger, the improvement in strength is not comparable to the original work. Oh, Jabra, it's rare for you to say such depressing words, but you're not the only one who can't compare, and you don't seem to be comparable. Kaku is right, he is the same age as Lu Chenkong. Both are 23 years old, while Lucci is 20. If he and Lucci are the same age as the starting line, his strength will definitely be stronger than now. The fact when Shengliu Chenkong first saw Kaku, he knew that Kaku's talent was definitely only below Lucci's in P. Humph. Jabra surprisingly did not compete with Kaku. In the original book, he was surpassed by Kaku's 20 Dao power, but for the past 5 years, he has been fighting and challenging stronger opponents, but as AP the oldest of them, his Dao strength value is only 4000. Like Lucci in the original book, the higher the Dao strength value, the harder it is to improve, and even if it is a certain height, the difference in Dao strength value will be very large. But living the same life as Lucci, with Lucci as a comparison, he is more competitive, and his talent is not bad, but Kaku's Dao value is as much as 6000, and now he just ate the Oxniu fruit not long ago. After a period of development, with the two-color Haki, Jabra is indeed far from his opponent. It's more powerful than I imagined. Sanji thought to himself, but facing Jabra, he was already at a disadvantage. The Straw Hat Gang experienced less battle baptism than the original, even if there were breakthroughs and transformations overnight, but compared to P, who has been tempered a lot, and he is facing Jabra, one of the three giants in P, it is impossible not to fall into the disadvantage. The wind is coming. Frankie's situation is not much better. Facing the Fukuro who adopts a fighting policy and flies around like an eagle in the sky, he can't hit all his tricks. Instead, Fukuro uses an iron block. Wounded with Rankyaku Tempest Kick, but his slap in the face is pulling the Eni's lobby incident into bang. I saw that Frankie's wind cannon was dodged by Fukuro, but the building behind him remained motionless, and Spandam, who was standing in the office admiring the P.S. battle, was honorably bombarded by the wind cannon. Ah! Spandam screamed. Although he didn't eat the entire wind to the front, he was basically blocked by the building, but the powerful impact still made him with only 9 Dao force. On the wall, huge pain came from all over the body, and in anger, Spandam directly pulled out the phone bug in his arms and shouted. P, what are you doing to let these pirates hit me? Your wise officer almost died, huh? It seems to be wrong. This is the going phone bug. Included number 1, including Lu Chengkong, would have thought that Spandam still took the wrong phone as in the original book. That's it. Going phone bug. Buster call. Vivi, the sharpest-eyed Lucci's face changed, but he could clearly see that Spandam actually launched the Buster call. Didn't this want everyone on the island to die together? As a person who often implements dark justice, he knows that Buster call is an indiscriminate attack. As long as you are within the attack range, you will be obliterated whether you are an enemy or your own. Forget it. Since it has been launched, it will be said that Frankie will be arrested and will destroy the blueprint of Hades, but if you have the blueprint, you may remember the contents of the blueprint, but he was arrested and escaped, in order to be safe. Sending him to the world government, Spandam, launched a Buster call regardless of personal sacrifice. Anyway, as long as the mission can be completed, it doesn't matter how many people die. Those Marine soldiers who died for the world government should be honored to die. Quote. After being surprised, Spandam immediately forced himself to calm down, and immediately painted a picture in his mind, pushing all the sins away. By then these soldiers are dead, then everything will return to dust, so what is there to be afraid of? As long as you are fine. It's a pity that Spandam is a careless person, otherwise he wouldn't have gotten the wrong phone, and he wouldn't be often scalded by hot water. A phone worm that was knocked over by the typhoon was beside him, and he actually opened the communication, so although his words just now were whispered, the transmission of the phone worm was very clearly transmitted to everyone's ears. Damn. Rob Lucci's face was extremely gloomy, and he had no plans to play anymore. He shot with all his strength, and his speed and strength increased a lot in an instant. Luffy was overwhelmed, and he was knocked out and embedded in the wall. Spandam, you give me death. He knew very well that if they were still fighting, facing the bombardment of Buster Call although he was nothing, but the rest of P, like Kumadori, and the seriously injured Bluno, the 3 weakest people in Fukuro in the battle are easily affected, and it is possible for one of them to be killed. After all, Buster Call will send 5 Vice Admiral people with many abilities after the bombardment. Countless Marine elites, Marine soldiers went to attack the people on the island. If the world government really wants to ruthlessly obliterate them and prevent this scandal from spreading, then the injured Bluno, Kumadori, Fukuro and others will easily die. It's no joke that there are 5 more Marine powerhouses and 5 Vice Admiral, plus Spandam's words immediately made Lucci angry. Lucci, what are you doing? Spandam didn't expect that Lucci would dare to shoot himself. Before he died, he only had time to shout such a sentence and was directly chopped by Rankyaku Tempest Kick.